And we're live.
Hello guys, and welcome back. It's David here. I have a special guest, Mark DiStefano, and we're going to get back to you in just a second, sir.
Sounds good, David. Thank you.
We got some, oh, there comes my monitor, because I got to see myself.
Oh, okay, there you go, yeah.
That's easier, right? Because Sticky makes mistakes, dude. You know, we got to keep up with Sticky. Here, I got to move my budget PC over, and we're waiting for the monitor to come in place. It never fails. It's always something. Uh-oh. Wow. Man down. We're good. All right, that's good enough. So we have a very exciting show, but before we get to that, we have a few updates. So number one, we've been working very hard to get shopcasinoquest.com up with all of our merch. And yeah, he clicks off. I don't know if they can see that or we can see that. And most importantly, we got 8-foot dice table rolled out. So a lot of you guys have come to Casino Quest here. You've seen our wonderful table that we have for the convention. And we finally have our 8-foot do-it-yourself dice table. And it's a full-size 8-foot table that you will have probably seen in a few locations. So there's a few places in town that deal out of the tub. And that's essentially what it is. It's ideal for one person, so maybe you at home. If you're a setter and you want to practice, it's still 8 feet. So you can just move back and have the rubber, have the felt the way you like it. So if you go down, if you scroll through that, you'll see where we have the white version that's here. That's a fully custom table. It's been painted, the lights have been put on, this kind of thing. There you go. Fantastic. Thank you, Dennis. So that's the one that we have here, but on our showroom we actually have the table that Alex put up, and we have an entire video tutorial that Alex did. Yeah, we had him bent over putting that table together on a Sunday night too. No, it was a Saturday night. But yeah, so we put this table together, and we have it available for you guys. So the table starts at $2,500, but the shipping is extra. It comes LTL. And my apologies right now, but if you live in Hawaii, we can't ship to Hawaii quite yet because, as you may have heard, there's a few traffic jams of shipping containers on the West Coast, the East Coast. So until that sort of clears up, the cost of shipping a craft table is outrageous. In fact, it's more than the table itself. So we're...
fun fact, you know that video we released?
Fun fact?
Yeah, someone called right after that video from Hawaii asking about it.
Oh, really? Oh my God, swear to God. So I guess we could make it available, but the cheapest shipping rate we've found so far is nearly $2,000. So we're guessing that a lot of people are like, it's a lot. So we just gotta wait. Normally it used to be around 500, 400 or 500, as you can imagine. It's gotta go on a boat, that kind of thing. But with all these with all these ships anchored and having issues, logistical issues, it's not worth it. So we just said screw it. I know we love you guys, Craps Hawaii. We love you guys, man. We just saw a few people from Craps Hawaii yesterday. I had to
pull your mic closer, apparently.
I gotta pull my mic closer. Well, it's all the way the hell over here, dude. Yeah. All right. Who was that? Who said the mic thing?
Alan? Well, Alan Toy.
Alan Toy was right on it, buddy. He's always on it, dude. Hey guys, so yeah, there it is. So the 8-foot table and the tutorial is up. We monetized the tutorial by accident, sort of. So yeah, a few commercial breaks as you watch Alex bend over and put that table together. So anything else? What else do we have? But shopcasinoquest.com is our new merchandise bonanza. We got a couple things. We got some great cards on there, some new shirts. It's gonna take another couple days to finish, but we're working on it. It's a work in progress. But there you go. All right, what else do we got?
Really quickly.
Yes.
Thank you for the $5 super chat. James says, love this podcast. Best Vegas YouTubers on YouTube. I'll be there Halloween weekend. I'd love to visit you and say hello. Come down to Casino Quest. Say hello.
Yes, come visit. Okay, so today we have a pretty exciting episode, by the way. So we've been trying to sort of upgrade our learning dynamic. The last week we had, what did we have? Did we cancel? What did we have last week, dude? Player versus casino.
Yeah,
we had player versus casino. We had Lauren, but today we have Mark. So Mark has a storied history in the casino business. And can we say where you're the training manager?
Training manager at Resorts World.
Yeah, we already put that out there, dude.
Yep.
I'm kind of asking you post facto, dude. I was sitting here praying. You said it's okay, no worries. And then I was like, oh crap, I got to edit.
No, that's fine.
No, Mark has been in this business for a very long time. He has every degree. He is quite literally the ultimate casino nerd. He is what we call, by the way, a unicorn in this business, because here's what happens. Most dealers learn 1 or 2 games, they go to a casino, and they sort of focus. So at some point, even if they get promoted as supervisor, a lot of them have a deficit when it comes to, what games they know. They don't know all the games. There are very few dealers that know all the games. I literally know craps, high limit craps, and you know what I mean, and more craps. I can get around a blackjack game, but not enough where Alan Toy would be comfortable playing with me. You know what I mean? By the way, he's one of our most anal listeners. Okay.
Got it.
And he would find a problem with everything, but you know every game.
I do. European roulette, tiles, craps. Just over the years, brought upon myself to learn all the games. So. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I love to teach the games. I love to, to investigate the procedures in them. So it's been quite a few years learning all of them. And each year, you keep learning more things about these games. So
it's a learning process. You have to level up constantly.
100%.
In craps, a lot of you players out there, I still learn. We had some players here the other day who had just learned a new system from Mel, he's one of the channels that I watch a lot, Mel from Craps Hawaii. And it's amazing. He's still coming out with new ways to bet. And honestly, as much as I've been around this game and I've seen lots of systems, it's a very, I'm always leveling up. There's always something to learn. There's always nuances, always stuff to learn. But okay, so you have, I'm gonna go down this real quick. Let me see a little bit of your resume.
Okay.
And so I want you to just first sort of clarify, because we're going to let everybody know literally how you're the guy.
Okay.
There's a few really smart people in this business, by the way. You don't know Jimmy at Palace Station. He's the other guy who's sort of a unicorn. He knows tiles. I'm not sure he knows SR. I'm guessing he does. But he's one of these table game directors who knows everything inside and out. He knows all the math. Yeah, no, you would love this guy. You guys, you and him would get together and just talk, and no one would know what the hell you guys were talking about. And you would go off into the sunset, 2 unicorns out and about. And that's really kind of what happened. But okay, so you have a BBA in resort management.
Resort management from Morrisville.
From where?
Morrisville State College up in New York.
Okay.
I'm actually from New York. So.
Okay, yeah, originally from New York, because we have hospitality hall here, UNLV, and they have a resort management curriculum, so you can actually get this here. I'm assuming, right? Is that what this is?
Yep.
Okay, and then you have an AAS in casino management. So what's the difference on the resort side? It's more hotel oriented.
Hotel, basically the entire resort, from the hotel, F&B, and then with the casino management, it's really just gaming related, right?
Okay, right, yeah.
So.
Specific to the table games. So where did you go about learning all the games? Like, quite literally, did you go to a school specifically, or did you learn them on the job? Or
I did. Most of it was formal training, I broke in dice. I went to dealer school for dice, and then blackjack, and throughout the years, I actually went to school to learn roulette. I learned Pai Gow tiles in school. Also European roulette. So all these games, I did have formal training, and then of course after that training, you have to watch the game, you have to deal the game to really polish it up.
So how long were you a dealer before you moved over to the dark side?
To the dark side. So I dealt for actually 3 years. I dealt from 2003 to 2006, and then after that, I went on the floor after that.
You went on the floor. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, we recommend most of the dealers that you do it, put at least 2 years on the floor.
Sure.
And most casinos on the strip here look for that. If you've done less than 2 years as a dealer, you might not get the floor job. You can work a floor job sort of off the strip, but most of the strip casinos want you to have at least 2 years, because that's enough time in most cases to have dealt with a lot of the customer problems. Unless quite literally Alan Toy is your customer, and then you can never have dealt enough time to get back. Is Alan out there, buddy? Is he in the audience? Do we know him?
He's 100% out there, dude. He's out there.
Is Derek out there?
I haven't seen him in the chat.
Hi, Sue. Hi, everybody. Did I miss anybody? I missed everybody. We have a lot of our regulars. We love all of you guys, by the way, and we've so enjoyed you coming by and taking pictures with us. Well, I've enjoyed it, just so you know. Alex, he could be, no, Alex loves it too, by the way. He's a big ham sandwich. All right. So let's get to the nitty gritties of this. So yeah, you've been on every level. So you've literally you went to supervisor. You never looked back. You've been an instructor. You've been in higher education. Let's say that, and you've been through some legitimate. Like I heard of you before you heard of us. So I knew where you're working in the higher education part of it, only because we do our research and we know there's other people. Because CEG is a school, we look around at other curriculums. There was a very sort of unique dynamic that was played out at one of the schools you work with. We were very interested in to see how that worked out. We were very happy to learn that it didn't work out as well, because you know what I mean. So,
right.
But anyways, all right. It's a tough business training people.
It is.
And here in Vegas, a lot of the schools have really cannibalized each other. So cost is really this huge factor, and a lot of people don't realize that you pay for what you get. Realistically, like I would you having the skill set you have is worth, I mean, quite literally a fortune, because you can help someone get to that next level in their career. If you go to a lower level and you start out, which is why it's really interesting to hear from you. But if you start out at there are some schools that teach you sort of the very basics. And it's so easy in this business to get stuck at a sort of lower tier property and not have the skill set, not have the knowledge you need to move on. The lack of SR, single zero roulette, for example, or the lack of some of the things we're going to talk about today, because we're going to talk about the 10 ways that, the 10 biggest ways that people cheat the casino, all right? And then we're going to look at the ways that the casino combats that, right? And having that information or having that knowledge is hugely critical to many levels of sort of an advanced career, getting to that upper level, which you have, which you're literally the guy. You know what I mean? All right, so we're gonna go over that. Do we have any questions yet before I get through this? Do we have any like CEG or Casino Quest stuff? Does anybody care? Is anybody reaching out? No.
Not really, but
Not yet.
But Alan Toy wants to see a tiles video.
So what's interesting? We get a lot more calls now for tiles. So the interesting thing about tiles is the casinos that don't have the dealers for tiles just don't have tiles. Or if they have nobody to watch the game, they don't have tiles.
Correct.
So there's a few places that have tiles only because, let's say, a table game director or supervisor and someone happens to know tiles, so they can offer it. So someone can come into a casino floor and say, hey, do you have tiles? And they can say, you know what, we can open a tile game for you.
Right.
And believe it or not, like Palace Station has tiles. You wouldn't think Palace Station would have tiles because Jimmy knows tiles and he has people who know tiles, and so they can roll out tiles. But that's not a common thing anymore.
Tiles used to be a really, really hot game, and over the years it's just kind of lost steam, but still there are houses out there, especially the bigger houses, that do have tiles, and finding a really good tiles dealer is hard to come by. So having that skill really is big star in your cap.
Well, we tell people, listen, if we have a tile course, $1,000, dude. It's $1,000 because you only need it for a very specific purpose, and you'd have to have it from somebody like you, and you literally are a unicorn in this business. There's not many of you out there that know all the games, and from both sides of it, from the dealer side and the surveillance, supervisor, all these things. All right, so first off, I'm gonna share. We're all about stories here, dude. So I'm gonna share one story in particular. I just want to get your reaction because I'd love to get your reaction from a lot of these. So I was working at a casino not too long ago. A gentleman from surveillance was promoted. I don't know if you call it a promotion, but he actually went from he was working surveillance for 10 years at the same casino. Casino surveillance, okay? Pit surveillance, all right. And they put him on the floor as a casino floor supervisor. Now, at this casino, it was actually relatively a break-in house, okay? I was working there because I was sort of doing a favor, and they let me deal dice, that's it. And I wanted to work it was a local property. I wanted to work a local property because I love that engagement. It was a part-time job, this kind of thing. Anyways, all right. So this guy starts, it's his very first day, and he knows that I've been around for a while. And I'm like the go-to dealer, I guess, when it comes to like asking questions, And he comes up to me, so they ask him to open a table, and he's never opened a table before. And he's a floor supervisor. And so he asked me if all the decks of cards have to be the same color.
So you would think that would be a basic knowledge, right? But
He's never been a dealer.
never been a dealer.
He's only been a surveillance. You follow?
See, that's where the breakdown is, David. Is training. When we train, we have to train all the basics. You know, we can't assume that someone knows basic that we think is basic, right?
Yeah.
So you start from the ground level and then you go up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he knew other things, but just the basic stuff that we have to start there and then we build from there.
Yeah.
But that's surprising. You would think that everybody in gaming would know that all the decks have to be the same color, but you can never assume that.
Yeah, no. So I've had a guy on another occasion who was a dice dealer, and only a dice dealer for quite a few years. Had actually taken roulette in school, and then he ended up. So they had a lot of roulette action. They brought it because a lot of times a pit manager or a shift manager assumes that if you're wearing a suit, you can watch other games.
Right.
They'll just move you around. They don't know what games you know. So like here is this guy. He's basically a box person, but he's standing up, and they move him over to roulette. So on one specific day, they have 4 balls go off the table, 4 balls, of which they now have security out tracking these balls down, but they can't find the balls. And so he comes over to me and asks me what to do. I don't know what to do because roulette's never been my game. I could care less. I'm assuming there's more balls in the drawer. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm a crap dealer on third base at the time that he asked me, and I'm like, dude, I'm literally the wrong person to ask. But he's afraid to ask his supervisor because he doesn't want to be seen as not knowing, the procedure for managing this kind of situation. You follow?
I do.
And so I was like, well, that's not my problem, dude. I gotta get back to work. You know what I mean? I just find it so stunning, the lack of training that exists in a casino environment, because you would think there would be a basic protocol. 4 balls go off, but so he gets to it after. It was kind of a weird scenario. It was a break-in dealer. And strangely enough, several of these balls were all found hours later underneath the same table, a dead pit, basically. And it caused quite the commotion because they had like 4 security guys just going around trying to track down these balls, because you got to find your balls. You don't want to lose your balls at the casino, okay? I'm just saying. But yeah, there's all of these sort of gaps that are, it's just always boggled my mind, I've been asked, for example, how they didn't realize the draw was locked. So, where you keep dice, that the draw is locked. You need a key to unlock that because you can't just have an open draw where people can just go in and say, hey, let me grab a set of dice. You follow? So, basic protocols like that. But, okay, we're going to move on to the top 10 ways to cheat the casino. Sure. We're going to kind of go down the list. We're going to get some feedback from you guys. We'll kind of play this interactively.
Sure.
And we're gonna talk, and we're gonna evolve that discussion. You ready? Do we have anything else? Does anybody miss me? What's going on? I feel needy for today. I don't know why. By the way, so a suit came in the other day and made me put my hat on. I've been going hatless for a little bit. I used to wear a hat constantly, and I've forgone the hat.
Right, someone did ask, how long is a typical training course?
Ooh, what kind of training course? Dealer?
They just said that's how they left the question.
All right, so it really is, it varies. So a dealer training course is a bit unstructured. To learn the games, it's really up to you. So as you come to school, it can take anywhere from two weeks to like 6 months to learn all the courses. But a blackjack course might only take you 2 weeks if you're at the school and you're learning and you're a fast learner and you have good hands and this kind of thing. But and then for every class that you take, it'll add weeks, maybe months, depending upon the courses that you want to learn. We always tell people we want you to learn 3 games if you come to school because it makes you a competitive dealer.
Absolutely.
If you go out into the world and you only have 1 or even 2 games, you're limited to the number of casinos that you can work for. Many casinos now, you got to be a 3-game dealer. Resorts World is a great example. For sure. How to be a multi-game dealer. You couldn't come there with one game. Even if you've been dealing that game forever, they could care less. You had to be a multi-game dealer. Surprisingly, you got a break-in. A juiced-in break-in over there, which but multi-game dealer, very good. Passed the audition, fantastic. But you got to have multiple games. So we tell you, listen, it's not just because we want to make more money off you. It's literally a fact of life. You got to have 3 games. I don't say you have to have. There's a few local places, 1 or 2 games. Everyone's desperate for dealers, so they'll take you. But you're gonna get stuck You don't want to get stuck at the break-in casino unless that's literally like the first and last job that you want. We have a few people. We sent a lot of people to Circa. It's turned out to be a great job, and they've opted to want to stay there. But that's rare. In most cases, you're going to work a break-in job, and then you're going to want to move on. And in order to move on, you got to have the right games, the right experience, the right knowledge. You know what I mean? So it really depends. Now, the next one is a supervisor. We'll talk more about that. But here in Vegas, their casinos will promote in kind of a tiered way. The first thing they'll do is they'll give you a dual rate assignment, a dual rate tag. And what that means is you're sort of a dealer and a supervisor a few days a week. You put on a suit here and there when they need you, and then you shadow other supervisors. You play a limited role as a supervisor. At some point when they promote you, or some casinos in the dual rate classification will send you through some classes that they have available in-house. And those classes are very specific to either Title 31, which is big because that's how the IRS is looking at you, right? To manage money. And the other is sometimes, like Stacy Casinos, for example, has sort of a week-long process where they teach you a number of different protocols. Apparently, that's been missed a few times with some of their supervisors. But it can be very loosey-goosey. So for in the gaming business, especially in Vegas, now in new markets where it's a new casino operator, it's much more structured because they've learned all these lessons. But some of the casinos here in Vegas, you get promoted and bam, there's the floor, and hey, here's this tutorial on Title 31, and here's some paperwork, and it's very loosey-goosey. This is why Mark is trying to change the game. And after this is done, we're going to be introducing a course through Casino Quest for supervisors, for a lot of you. We're going to be rolling this out. You're going to see Mark probably a lot, unless he passes out while he's here. But I'm guessing that's not going to happen.
I'm just fine.
Good?
Yeah, I'm good.
And we're gonna get to you. And this, by the way, this is Mark's first podcast, so you're doing fantastic.
Thank you.
And
glad to be here. Thanks.
if you ever need me to fill in the air, I do a great job of filling air, dude. That's
Sounds
the one
good.
thing I am. All right. So let's do this. So top 10 ways that people cheat the casino. Everything good, Sticky?
I'm just making sure everything's not on fire
Oh, really?
on the e-com site.
On the e-coms. Oh, he's working on something. He's just firing away over there. We love him, dude. He's got sticky fingers, dude. He got sticky, by the way, because of the way he uses the stick. Not his
got
stick,
it.
the
Yeah,
crap
oh
stick.
my god. Okay. Here, I gotta explain this
Are we
real quick.
canceled? Uh-oh.
Look, when Casino Quest reopened after the pandemic, I would be the stick man for him because it was just me and David all the time.
Yeah, it was me.
And then one day, because David has the best nicknames,
I had a Y to everything.
best nicknames.
Yeah.
He added a Y to the end of stick, and was like, you know what, your name is Sticky, and then started laughing not uncontrollably for hours.
Yeah, I know. He loved it. That was fantastic.
No,
He loved
just
it.
no.
He loved it. All right. So here's the thing. So the very first one, and I'm gonna let you just talk away and address the whole thing.
Sure.
Pass posting winning wagers after the outcome is known. So once like someone turns over some cards, boom, pass post.
Pass post. What does pass post mean? Basically, if you take horse racing and they pass the post and then you make a bet, basically after the outcome, that would be cheating, right?
Right.
So when you read NRS 465, which is a statute with the Gaming Control Board, that really defines what cheating is, right? So when you take, let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you have a 20 in blackjack. Dealer has a 5 showing, right? The dealer has not drawn out their cards yet, okay? After the dealer draws out their cards and then they pass post after the outcome, that's clearly cheating.
Right.
But now let's ask this. What if you have a 20 and I have a 5 showing, I have not flipped over my whole card yet, and I pass post it before the outcome? Is it cheating? It can be cheating. And what it is was there intent to defraud the game? You have to prove intent at that point, right? So is it before the outcome or is it after? We got that there? Got it. Is it before the outcome or after the outcome? So after the outcome is made sure and then they pass post, that is clearly cheating. And sometimes people pass post before the outcome. Let's take this one. Let's go to a dice game, right? You're not supposed to bet the don't pass after the point has been established, right? Well, if somebody pass post the don't pass before the outcome has been made sure, are they cheating? If they're defrauding the game, it is, right? So you have to draw that that distinction between is it actually defrauding or not, right? So, when you take a look at a player, they might not know that you cannot bet the don't pass after the point's been established, right? So what was the intent? But if the outcome is made sure and then they make the bet afterwards, that's clearly in the statute that is cheating.
So the point's 5.
The point is 5.
I don't have a don't pass bet.
Correct.
I put a don't pass bet now.
Correct.
Right? So if I didn't know better, I'm hoping the dealer has the layout case and is educating me, right?
Correct.
But now if I leave that bet there and a 5 is rolled,
still lose it.
and I lose that bet,
Right.
even, and can I say, hey, and then I learned that I couldn't pass post, can I tell the dealer, hey, I need my money back. You weren't supposed to take my money because I pass posted.
So the question on that is, do you know what you're actually doing or not? So so are you defrauding the game, right? So that's what you really you have to draw that distinction. So here's the thing: you make that don't pass bet after the 5 has been marked, right? You could still lose that bet, just like that 20 in blackjack, and I got a 5 showing. If I pass post that, I could still lose my bet if you draw it to a 21.
Although
right?
I would want to pass post at that point, like if I was looking, because it's in my at 20, I'm looking good. Unless Timmy's my dealer, then I'm screwed. He loves the 5s, dude. He has a 5 or 6. He deals a 21
right there every time.
Anyways,
right?
Yeah.
So that's the distinction you have to draw is what is cheating and what is not cheating. And the biggest thing here is if they pass post you before the outcome is made sure, you have to ask yourself what was the intent, and if the intent was to fraud, then it was definitely illegal and it would be cheating. So that's how it's written in the statute.
Yeah, so I've actually seen someone on the pass line, and the point's established, and they have an altercation with a boss. They had an altercation with the boss, and it got to yelling and shouting and the whole thing. And they had like $50, but that was it. Everything else they took down, and they wanted to leave. And they're like, well, you have $50 on the pass line. The point was already, 8, right? And he's like, well, I'm leaving. You guys suck. I'm taking my money. And he wanted to go, right? So he went to pull his money off of the pass line, and they didn't want him to do that. They had security there, and so they detained him and had him arrested for having he took his money off of the pass line for having to removed his money because it's a contract bet.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
You cannot remove that pass line bet after the point's been established. Yeah.
And they made an example. I mean, casinos love making examples of people like this, right? Who literally just he's screaming, yelling, and But yeah, so all right. So if you don't know, and it's not intent, because there's a lot of people play craps without knowing. That's why we're here. There's a lot of that.
Yep.
So the onus is on who? The dealer to kind of make that right and be heads up and have better trained dealers and supervisors.
Absolutely. The other thing too, you got to think about this is a pass poster oftentimes will do it many times before they get caught. Let me give you an example. So let's say, for example, I'm on blackjack and I have a player on third base, right? And all of a sudden over here they pass post and the dealer says, oh, no, you're not supposed to do that. What they do is they say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I thought the hand was over. But then the dealer never tells the floor supervisor that there was an attempted pass post. And oftentimes what the players will do is they'll toke the dealer to keep them quiet. So if you see them throwing a toke, that's just to keep the dealer quiet so they don't tell the floor supervisor. Because at the end of the day, when the dealer tells the floor supervisor, they call surveillance. This player did it 5 or 6 times prior to that and actually was successful. And this time here they got caught, and when they get caught, they play dumb and say, oh, no, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that. They toke the dealer on your friend. That's how the scam works. So if you ever pass posted, you still got to let your supervisor know, hey, I'm just letting you know that they did this. And the supervisor should call surveillance to let them know, because 9 times out of 10, they got this on 4, 5, 6 times before that, and that was definitely cheating at that point. So that's very important.
Yeah, no, 100%. I know a lot of people that try to take advantage of craps table. They'll try to get the dealer to kind of loosen up.
Oh, for
sure.
So
by putting tokes down there, they want to make a friend with the dealer, so the dealer will give them, a little extra, leverage, or you know what I mean. They'll be a little more loosey-goosey.
Absolutely.
Because they want to make those tokes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically, the cheats, they will definitely toke the dealers. They are good tokers. Why? Because they want to keep the dealer quiet. Why would the dealer tell on the player, try to blow them into
risk
the
losing
supervisor,
that tip.
right? To miss,
And it's not their money.
Exactly. So that's why when you're a dealer, you still have to do your job. Yes, the tokes are there, but if the player does something they're not supposed to do, you have to follow procedure and let your supervisor know that.
All right, so that's a big one. We talk about that a lot, especially on dice games. A lot of pass posting, a lot of DC. Either one of these. So the first one is the pass posting. Second one is the pinching of a losing wager. But that'll happen.
Before you change the subject, someone did ask, for those type of players, do you usually prosecute them or do you just kick them out?
So if it is actual cheating, what will happen is they will be detained, right? If we've determined that it's actually cheating, we'll detain them, and we will let the gaming control board make that call. You call the gaming control board, let them see the video, and then the gaming control board will determine whether they will be arrested or not for that. But in that case, yes, oftentimes they would be arrested if they can say that it was cheating.
Yeah.
And then another 100%. Question is, John said, if I'm playing and I see another player pass post, should I alert the staff?
Good question.
As a player, you're not required to, but oftentimes, many times, that's a great question, and oftentimes other players are caught that way, or even dealers are caught that way, right? Because another player tells the staff, hey, by the way, what happened on this game over there? And oftentimes that's how they get caught. But as a player, if you're honest and you want to let the staff know, by all means, but you're not required to, as a player, to let the staff know.
Oh, I've come across that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sure. I've had players rat out other players like
it happens all the time, right?
It's a very adversarial type of thing.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Fantastic. Okay. So the next one is pinching a losing wager. And I have a lot of it. That don't come bar that's right next to base. That's the one where someone either pass posts a lot of times, or they'll pinch it or withdraw it before the dealer has a chance. That's why it's one of the very first bets that dealers acknowledge.
Absolutely.
It's the first one to move behind. If on a 7 out, it's the first one you sweep.
For sure.
And that's all about game protection.
Yep.
Because believe it or not, I don't see it happening so much on a blackjack. I have watched this lady one time who was capping her bet and a really weak dealer. It was when the boats first opened up, and she would always bet in stacks of red. So it was hard for break-ins to read what she had, and she would keep her hands real close, and eventually she was caught and she was evicted. But on dice, 100%, especially that DC bar, is where those bets are taken. But okay, so here's number 2: pinching losing wagers after the outcome is known.
Same with the pass posting, right? Did they pinch? Did they know the outcome when they pinched the bet? Right? We call about pinching, we're talking about taking back money after it loses, right? So let's go back to the DC and craps, right? We posted the DC. Just the opposite on the pass line. Let's say, for example, we have a $50 pass line bet, right? And the point is 4. Now it's a hard point to hit, and you take money off that. Once again, that's a contract bet, so once that 4 is marked, you can't take money off it, but you can add to it, right? So they might pinch that off there. And to David's point, you've got the DC. The problem with the DC box is it's out of the dealer's view. It's and oftentimes it's not that common of a bet. So oftentimes dealers forget about the DC, right? So what happens is you got this DC box over here, and when it's a 7 out, you have to pull that into the cash register immediately. That's the first thing, because what happens is if you miss that and go around the pass line and you're way out here picking up the pass line, that's the perfect time for the player to come up underneath you and pick that up over here. And so that is a very common bet to have pinched. It does happen on other games too. It can happen on blackjack and so forth. But again, you got to think of the dealer's view here. That's why when you go to dealer school, you have to walk your game in blackjack, right? You have to step to the side, and what that does is it keeps your field of view open on all of these bets at all times. So it's harder for players to pinch or pass post. Here's the deal. When somebody is going to pass post or pinch on a dealer, they're looking for dealers who are not following procedure. What they do is they shop the store. We call it shop in the store. They're going to go through, they're going to be watching the dealers, see which ones are not following procedure, right? I get the name, I get the day that I came in, and I'll know your days off. I'll know the shift you work, and I know this is a weak dealer, and this is the one we're going to attack, right? So what happens is if you're not walking your game, that opens up the opportunity for them to pass post you, to pinch you. So if you follow procedure, they're not going to bother you, right? It's those that get lax when it comes to procedure. That's where they take advantage of it. So all these procedures that you learn in dealer school, if you deal by the book, the cheats don't want to be part of that. They want the easy targets. They don't want the difficult targets, right? So that's why the procedures are in place, is to thwart all of this.
I'm gonna share a story because a lot of you guys know this story. So we have a Discord community, and it's a lot of people that gamble, degen gamblers. We have a huge Discord. Well, I would say huge, pretty big, no? And so there's a casino who is out there. And a number of these Discord gamers have come across a dealer that they know of, a super weak dealer under super weak management, where if you come with enough money, that's sort of an oddball amount. Like one example I think was like 8,750. The dealer counts ahead. I forget how they work. It's a girl actually, but how she works the color. And you can end up getting like an extra $2,000-$3,000.
Wow.
Like automatically. So people have literally bought in on her table at her shift, and they know about this. And it's been shared in our community before. I don't know, has that been shared recently? Is that a recent thing or no? It's been a while.
Well, that specific story was like a couple months ago.
So it started out where some guy came and bought in for quite a bit of money. And because, we get around a little bit, me and Alex and our group. This was sort of passed around, and then other people started trying. They're like, listen, you got to buy in on this table with this dealer when you come to Vegas, and then the rest of your trip is free.
Wow.
That's how
what a scam.
I mean, can you imagine?
Gosh, right? Yeah.
But this happens. I mean, not that we're advocating for this, but we've heard this story from players because they're taking advantage of the weak dealer,
for sure,
and a weak supervisor.
Yep.
By the way, we've heard from this supervisor, this floor of this casino. We won't mention any names. We won't. I'm not even gonna do it under my cough. I'll share it with you guys. Well, we're not gonna mention any names. But basically, there's a certain table game director who doesn't care. He's like, I just want to get tables. I want to get asses and seats. And so his philosophy is literally, if it's up or down 2,000, I'm not worried about it. Can you imagine?
That 1,000 or 2,000 compounds to 4,
Dude,
6, 8.
And we know it does because we know
Sure.
people that take it. Can you imagine an actual table game director told us that to our faces?
Wow.
At the casino where this is going on. And, we've tried to share this story, but no one seems to care. It's quite stunning, I'll be honest with you. I have been an auditor at a casino. I have worked as a consultant for a top-tier casino. And top of the line group, by the way, board of directors, a group reporting to the board of directors, and unrelated to that, I think I had this I audited a table, and it was over about 5 hours, and there were $800 of mistakes in favor of the player, which so a lot of mistakes are done by dealers in favor of the player because the dealers are less apt to take back, money that, a player. They're not, hey, sir, I overpaid you. You owe me $20.
Right,
you follow?
Right.
It's quite the opposite. If they short a player, they're more prone to say, hey, I shorted this player $20. And it's that whole sort of idea of getting tips and gaining favor with the player. You follow?
For sure.
So many of these mistakes are always in favor of the player. And this was a casino that doesn't do active box people. They'll do a box on a real heavy game. But a 5-year dealer over the course of about 5 hours is what I figure I watched. $800 in mistakes for the player, and so we're the box people. It's strange because this is a whole nother topic, but I get asked a lot if I prefer a box as a dealer, and I have to say I do, because that way I don't have to be an adversary. I can let my box be the adversary. I can just be nothing but the friend. And if I run into an issue, it's this guy in the suit that's the bad guy.
Because the dealers are there to make tokes. They're there to be friendly with the players. The minute you tell the player, oh, you're not supposed to do that, or then they don't toke you anymore.
No, that's right.
The box is the bad guy.
The box is the bad guy, and the
Absolutely.
box,
Yep.
having an active boxman could save these casinos so much
Thousands.
money. I'm always stunned. But anyways, okay.
Before you go, there's
go.
a really interesting question. It says, what are the comps on reporting other players?
What are
Comps?
the comps?
What do you get?
If you report other players, they're not going to comp you, unfortunately. No.
Yeah.
Basically, the comp system is different. The comp system is based off your theoretical win. That's another whole topic. I don't want to get too much in the weeds
But I
with
think
that.
they're just basically saying, listen, if you find a big cheat, does the casino, give you a bone?
Not normally. There's a possibility they could go out on a whim and give you a buffet or whatnot, but
Always a buffet.
it could be, right? So, but normally no, unfortunately.
Thanks for saving us 100,000. Here's your buffet.
Here's your
coupon.
buffet, right?
Yeah. Enjoy. Desserts on us. Yeah, there's a very little advantage. The few people I've actually seen when I worked as a pit boss at the Bell, we definitely had. It was strange because at that level, all of a sudden, I started getting all this other feedback. I didn't realize that this went on a regular basis, but people get butt hurt.
Yeah.
Players get very adversarial, and he's like, "Listen, that guy was taking advantage." I mean, they'll come right up to you, especially if they're not getting the right cards. I knew this old guy who came off a blackjack game. He was so furious. He's like, "Dude, I know the guy's taking money from you. He's past posting, and he just was hoping that we were gonna boot this player, so." Because he felt like this player was taking his cards. You know how they are.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit of crazy town.
Yep.
We ran the cameras back. We did find a little nuanced mistake, but nothing that was purposefully done. Okay.
Here's another thing.
Go ahead.
Mel said, "Where is this place? I would love to go there and buy it for $8.50."
This is a thing, dude. This is a thing, and I would one of these. I don't know if we'll have it here because it goes on. This can go on for quite a while. But basically, I mean, I have so many stories. As a school, we interact with on all different levels, and so we have protocols. So we teach break-in dealers over and over and over again, hundreds of them every month. You follow?
Yep, sure.
And so not everybody is a math whiz, and we want being a dealer to be accessible to as many people as possible. And for the casinos to make it as easy as possible, because you don't have to be a math whiz to deal blackjack. There's lots of ways to figure the math out.
Correct.
That you don't have to have everything in your head. So here's how this came about, by the way, this $2,000 comment. So we teach our blackjack dealer, our break-in dealers, if they having difficulty with math, they come out with the bet plus half the bet and proof it on the shuffle pad.
Sure.
Okay? That allows them then to stack it up and pay the player. Okay? This specific casino did not want us. They wanted the dealer to come out of the rack from go with the whole amount, not to recount reds or anything, not to give them any slack. They had to come out with the rack completely from go, which we find is a bar a little too high. It's so silly. First of all, if I'm a supervisor and I'm not confident in someone's math paying blackjacks 3-2, it doesn't sound like it's a lot, but it can be difficult for people. Okay, I want to be confident that my deal is correct, and if I'm a supervisor watching a game, it's easy to see them and proof it right there at the shuffle pad. Okay, it's harder to see it on the spot. And it's much easier to follow as well, and the level of accuracy is much higher.
Very clean. It's transparent for everybody, not only the player, the supervisor, but also surveillance.
That's right, and we're talking break-ins here. You can see the bet plus half the bet. Boom, stack it up, send it out.
Yep.
So you avoid all these errors, you avoid the money issue, and you lower the bar again. And again, it's all about making the job easier. Eventually, that same blackjack dealer 6 months from now is going to by default know what everything pays.
For sure.
So for example, $35 blackjack, we know it pays $52.50. But if you don't know that, you can put the 35 and then you have the half a pile and you break down the $12.50, the 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so it becomes so easy. You follow? And they'll get it eventually. They just need to break in and start the process. So we got a lot of flack. They came in and they're like, no, and it was, listen, we're not worried about the mistakes from the rack. If it's within $2,000, we're good. Because the other worry is we were training for a casino that was going to be taking a lot of higher end action. Now you really want to, and you're a new property. You want to make this mistake from go. You want people coming out of the rack paying $6,000 blackjacks, and you're going to want them come out of the rail instead of following the thing.
It's going to add up.
It's going to add up. It's going to hurt.
For sure.
I mean, the same way that you know what made me a great what made me a great crap dealer and what put me on high limit games like all the time was not that I was a genius at math. We had many people better at math than me. What made me good is that if you ever see me deal dice, I'm a very clean dealer. When I pay props, I break it down into each individual. If someone has multiple props, I have a system called clean hands, okay? Where when I convert bets, for example, I always use exactly the checks that I need instead of just grabbing whole stacks where I could mistakenly put some down or pick some up. I don't go out with stacks. I go out with exactly the checks I need. I convert them, and then I pay bets separately, and then I let the dealer on base. So let's say I have 3 different bets that are complex, like, a $75 or let's say a $78 C&E, a $35, horn high 11, a bunch of nonsense, as people like to do, right?
Sure.
I pay them separately, and then I deduct. You know what I mean? So I pay them, and it's very visual, because craps, of course, is an audible game, is an audio game. That's the thing that's missed a lot with surveillance, because it's not visual as let's say a blackjack game where all the money's in the circle and on the side bets. You follow?
Yep.
So I break it down, and sometimes it can be an extra step, but it's very clear. I make few mistakes.
Minimizes your mistakes that way.
It's
clean and transparent. Absolutely.
That's it. And it's always amazed me how people no, you got to figure it all out in your head. Who wants to figure it all out? Nobody wants to figure it out. That's ridiculous. And I dealt the highest limit game when the Rio was owned by Marnell. Those are some of the highest limit games ever. And they were easy because I was able to colors and units. It makes it so simple.
The more numbers you're adding up in your head, the more chance of a mistake.
No, 100%. That's what I was always told.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. All right.
Really quickly, Floor Access, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, hit the like button, D-Gens.
Oh, by the way, 100 likes. And what are we giving away?
You want to give away a CG hat?
Oh, my God. A whole hat, dude?
Yeah,
we got to get to how many? We got to get to 125
$9.99 from Mel. Just a hippo doing a thumbs up.
Fantastic, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah, let's do it. You know what we have? We have a limited edition. I brought it in my bag. I'm going to give you my hat. You ready? I still have the tag. I haven't even taken the tag. I was going to wear the hat just for Sue. Sue's out there, but I'm going to give you the hat. I got it in my bag, dude. I got it in my bag. Here it is. Bam! Look at these. These hats came out so fantastic. This is a CEG hat. We just got them. There's only four others of these. This is mine. I haven't worn it yet. It still got the tag on it. We got a tag. This is real money, by the way. This tag. These hats are nice, dude. We got them from literally the best embroiderer on the planet, Queensboro.
That is nice. I do like that.
Dude, is that fantastic?
That's awesome.
Well, listen, we send them the design. It's Queensboro. They're not a sponsor, nothing like this. And they're if you want to get anything embroidered, I mean, literally, they took our logo. We tried out like 3 or 4 different embroidery shops. And what they do is it goes through this process where they make it just perfect. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Top quality. Yeah.
So 125 likes. We got to pass the 100 likes during this show, and that hat will go out. And by the way, Snapper, dude, you've already won, okay? Twice. No more for you, sir, okay? By the way, your thing went out, I think, today. Sticky's been busy, so we apologize for that. Been a little delay. I've been cracking the whip. All right, what's happening? Are we fading to black?
No.
Can I go pee?
Mark isn't focused.
Oh, my God. All right, by the way, okay. So this is fantastic. This is a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Dude.
Love this stuff.
So we're gonna mix our stories with your information, and okay. So here's the one: intentionally defrauding the game.
For sure.
Okay,
so
go with that one.
There's many different ways we can go with this. As we had said before, if you're past posting after the outcome, definitely cheating. But if you're past posting before the outcome, and you are intentionally defrauding the game that way, that's cheating. Or how about coming in and make a false claim? How many times does a player come in and make a false claim?
So
right there
many.
is defrauding the game right there, right? So all of that kind of rolls into that. So, but the problem with defrauding the game is you have to prove the intent. You know,
Right.
Are they actually doing that? But
Or they're just being stupid.
correct. So that's also in the statutes. So defrauding the game is definitely cheating.
I mean, I come across this a lot. This is one of the reasons why my clean hands thing, when I teach clean hands on it. So, for example, people throw in prop bets, right? And if they see an errant dollar or nickel, a lot of people, oh no, that's mine.
Right.
And sometimes they just forget and they don't know. Like we were on a game the other day, me and Alex. Excuse me, it was at the Strat. and we had been we were playing with all Hawaii, craps Hawaii, crap shooters, all you guys, and so we're all betting epic. Okay, so ready? Here's how it happened. Principal Skinner out there rolled every number in the ATS. All he had left was the 11, 12, 2 numbers to go. He rolls the 11. And so now all of us are throwing in hopping bets on the 12. Mm-hmm. And I was sure I threw in $2. They did give it to me. But, I could only see $1 out there, but I was sure because they, stick people lock up money left and right because they don't use clean hands. And, of course, he rolled the 12. We all hit the hopping bet, dude. I had $2 on that bad boy.
Nice,
but it was amazing. He hit the ATS and the 12.
The 12.
It was fantastic.
Wow.
But that was a great example because the stick person went out with stacks and was just picking up checks. You can't do that. I always have everyone come out clean with the checks. You don't want to work with stacks of checks in your hands because it's too easy to pick up and put down. If someone throws a nickel and wants all the hard ways high something, you put that nickel, you replace it with 5 singles, and then you lock up the nickel, and then you have clean hands. You only use those 5 aces, you follow? Yep. So that you can, it's all about game protection. But that happens a lot. Now, I didn't have any intention of defrauding the casino. I legitimately tossed $2. $2, correct. You follow? Mm-hmm. Now, if they, but I've been wrong before. I was following this dude on the C&E one time, and I forgot. And I was like, no, I really did it. And they were like, no, you really didn't. And the guy called up, and, I didn't, apparently. So it happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? All right.
And as a supervisor, though, the other thing, too, is with these, we call them shots, right? You have a player taking a shot.
Yeah.
And if they take a shot at a game, oftentimes it's good to loop in surveillance because what you need to know is that some of these players are famous for this, right? Oh. So you call up and say, I had somebody over here that said they wanted to stand, but they really wanted to hit or whatever. The minute surveillance zooms in and says, oh, no, we know who this person is. Mm-hmm. Then we have to get them out because they are a habitual shot taker, and they're really there to defraud the casino, and they make a living doing this.
No, they 100%. I know one of the best shot takers I ever saw was a guy that used to play what's that? A shell game with $3 bets. It was a $3 table. It's back in the day, and he would bet $3 in the field, $3 come, $3 don't come, and $3 on a number. So if he had a comeback go to the number, he would put, and the DC went to number, he would also do a $3 place bet. It would just drive you insane.
Oh, yeah.
He had the most ridiculous, I don't know how he attempted, but he would always make claims on the DC or the come based on, and pick up his money and put down his money based on, where, and this was, of course, was a breaking casino. So we got away with a lot of it until he was eventually just like, dude, we don't want your action. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of that.
Example there too. I remember I was dealing a dice game, and a player comes up. I have a point of 8, right? Comes up and he makes a pass line bet. We call it a put bet, right? In the middle of play, you can certainly do that. It's totally legal to do that. So of course, as a dealer, I let the player know, taking a point of 8, sir, right? Didn't say a word. Put his money down the pass line. Very next roll, 7 out. Picked up the pass line and went around. Whoa, what are you doing? I said, sir, we had a point of 8. It's a 7 out. Oh, I didn't know we had a point of 8. I would have bet the come. Why am I going to bet the pass line in the middle of a, right?
Yeah.
So what is he trying to do here? It's a shot, right?
Yeah, taking a shot. So, yeah. A lot of shots on dice.
A lot of shots.
So ready? I got one for you. Now that we mentioned put bets, because we have this outstanding conversation with our community a little bit. So a top tier casino. You know how you can bet a put bet? You can go and say, I want $5. So here's what happens. Okay. If you're on a busy game, and you forget your come bet, and a 6 rolls, okay, and I've had a lot of customers, they don't like betting place bets. They're just come betters, okay? But they got distracted, cocked a waitress, and then they'll be like, they'll throw me a nickel with 2 red and say, here, put that on the 6. And it's literally a put bet. I just move it. I move it onto the 6. $5 flat, $10 odds. Sure. Not because, and I don't even bother saying, hey, it's first of all, it's not better as a place bet because a $15 place bet only pays $17 on the 6, so you're gonna get the same $2 back, right? Sure. And someone like that, I just do it. I don't even have a conversation because that's just what they are. They're just come betters, okay? Yep. So we had someone go to Bellagio. I shouldn't have said Bellagio. Okay. We had someone go to a casino that I won't name somewhere on the center strip. Okay?
And fade to black.
And they went to make a put bets. And so they told him there's no put bets. And I said, what do you mean there's no put bets? Yeah, we don't do put bets here. a floor supervisor said there was no put bets here. And I was like, well, what? First of all,
those are very good bets for the house. Those
100%.
Those are a house bet all day long.
So what it was is the way it was explained to me is the point was 4, right? And someone wanted to put on the 6 and 8. Just wanted come bets on the 6 and 8.
Yeah.
And they said, no, you got to go through. You have to start to the come. We'll only let you start to the come. And I was like, so I had a conversation with someone associated with this who came in and asked me like if this is a thing. And I said, listen, if the point comes out on the 6, right, and the big button, okay, is the game is on 6, and you walk up to a table, put money on the pass line, that's a put bet.
It's the
just
same
like
exact
you had said.
thing,
It's
right?
exactly the same
so
thing.
So the come and the pass are like brother and sister, same exact bet, right? Only the pass line is working with a puck. All of the numbers up there are basically pass line numbers,
That's
if you will, and you can actually. So here's an example. Let's say, for example, I have every single number with a come bet on it, right? And I've got odds on all of them. Coming out, 7 frontline winner 7. All of those come flats will lose, right? But me as a player, I said, no, I don't want those to lose. I throw you $30, $5 to put me all back up on all those. You're going to do it all day long. And those are all put bets is what you just did. You just replenished all of those flat bets. So
at the Cromwell, remember when Cromwell had 100 times odds, you'd have put bettors over there.
Sure.
Because put bets in some cases, mostly with the 5 and 9, by the way, pay because you can't get away. We'll go over the strategies later, but with the 5 and 9, a put bet makes more sense. Even you start getting back money, especially if you have 100 times odds.
Oh, yeah, huge.
It's hard to return on a 4 and 10. It's not a thing because if you just buy them, you get the advantage of that. And of course, if you're allowed to buy it, and you're a lot of local places now, they have buys on the 5 and 9. They automatically buy it in local markets.
Oh wow!
So there are casinos now that just quite give you the buy. They pay 3-2 on the 5 and 9 plus minus 5% vig.
But are they taking the vig before or after the
post? Yeah,
post. Oh, well, then
yeah.
then
so
it's worth
if
it. Then,
it's 100% worth it.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to do anything else.
You don't want to do if it's up front, but if it's after the fact, by all
100%.
means, do it. Yeah.
But yeah, so they would and the other reason why I've seen people do put bets is if they're trying to go 2 ways to the number, they've met the limit.
Sure.
So I've had a few players who, in a $1,000 game especially, have gotten to $1,000. They're literally $6,400 across, and the only way to add more money to the table is to make a put bet, right? Because there's 2 ways to the number.
Sure.
Now, interestingly, all right, before we get off this topic, we'll go to the next one. So I'm at the Grand Casino. I'm in the middle of an epic hand. It's my hand that I won $49,125 from.
Nice.
Off of the $32 across.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't playing with my money at the time, so I was going super aggressive. And okay, so the boxman there. Now, meanwhile, I'm currently the pit manager at the dice pit manager at the Belle of Baton Rouge. Okay, and I'm on vacation, so to speak, and. He tells me I can own $5,000 table. They would only let me take. I have $5,000 on the 4, $5,000 on the 5, and $5,000. He would not let me go to $6,000 on the 6. Would not.
Oh, that's standard though.
And,
Usually
and,
you should be able to.
And he tells me, sir, it's a $5,000 game. I'm a professional. I'm a casino professional because I'm arguing with him.
Right.
I don't tell him like what my role is or that I have any background. He knows nothing. And my friend that I'm with is a doctor who knows absolutely. That was the whole reason I would play with him. But I was like, and then I finally broke out with, dude, I'm running a dice pit up the street. How do you not have? It's $6,000
all day long.
All day long. $5 game. If you have a $5 game, it's $32 across because there's $6 on the 6 and 8.
For sure.
We're just adding zeros.
Yep.
You follow?
Yep.
So like, how are you paying me and not letting me? They would not let me. Even the ship boss came up. No, I'm gonna go with the boxman.
That is surprising.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
That was at the Grand Casino. It was like 16 years ago, 16, 17 years ago. Yeah. So a lack of training, dude.
So they're gonna make you bet a place bet on the 6 for 5,000.
For 5,000, 5883, right?
5883, yeah.
So brutal.
Wow.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they would not let me go to 6,000. That's all they rolled, 4 5s and 6. It was fantastic, dude. Oh god.
Nice. That's a nice run right there.
No, we loved it. All right, so ready? Here's a good one. We're gonna have a lot of stories on this one. Do we have any questions yet? Any super chats?
Really quickly, we did
How are
get
we not raising money for Sticky's birthday?
Well,
What's going on?
speaking of which,
Oh my God.
that's the super chat.
Really?
We have a $20 super chat from Christopher Bird Trucking.
Oh.
Sticky's B-Day fun. Come bet because you need to come on their birthday.
Everybody wants to come on their birthday, especially because he's gonna play dice.
Here is the actual little Virgin Gambler thing.
Yeah, look at that. We have moved the needle, dude. So, Sticky. We're trying to get Sticky to 10K.
Okay.
Epic. His birthday is in March, and we're about like 1,200.
Yeah, 1,200 is give or take.
And so, let's just say 70% because YouTube keeps 30%. But I matched the first 1,000, so we're quite literally 2,000, unless we get whacked before your birthday, buddy. Unless you know what I mean.
That's
unless I'm on the ground, kind of thing, 6 feet deep. You know what I mean? In the elevator on the first floor. No, okay.
What is this? The horseshoe?
Yeah. Hey, how we doing? How many likes do we got? We're
at 93. We're at 93.
93? Oh
93
my
nice.
God. The
Almost
hat's at
there.
risk, dude.
Yes.
The hat's at risk. Okay, good.
Also, Alan Toy says, question for Daddy David. Can you put the 2, 3, and 11 and 12? Can you put bet the 2, 3, and 11 and 12?
If you're on a crapless
craps
game, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you're on crapless craps, I mean, we're going to start treating, we're going to have to add crapless craps. There's a lot of casinos. So, interestingly, you know the history behind crapless craps?
No, I'm not.
So Bob Stupak, it's Bob Stupak's game. Who owned Vegas World prior to the Strat. He's the one who came up with the Stratosphere idea. And God, he was the most gimmicky casino manager ever on the planet. And he, I loved going in there, not all the time, because it was so gimmicky that you felt like you were being cheated. You know what I mean? You had to go in there with a clean pair of underwear, and you didn't get out with the same pair of underwear kind of thing. You know what I mean? It was one of those. You had to check for skid marks about halfway through the property, you know, and so Bob Stupak really invented. I don't know. I'm assuming he himself did not, but that was the only place in town that had it. And then the very next, but you guys, everybody knows now what the answer to this. It used to be a trivia question: who was the next first casino to have crapless craps on the Las Vegas Strip, or literally anywhere for that matter?
After the Strat?
After the Strat, who was the only other? You haven't been here that long, and you'd really have to dig for this. I seriously doubt you know it.
Was it Harrah's? No?
It was not Harrah, but it was close. It was located very close. It was Little Caesars. So there used to be a little dive on the Strip called Little Caesars, and it was famous for not really for crapless crap. Well, the crapless craps game they had was a bird game, 25-cent table. They were famous for being the East Coast bookies. So they had a guy in there that was a genius bookie, and they had these. If you went to Little Caesars, so it was in this Strip parking lot where Paris is now, approximately where Paris is now. It was in this little strip mall. There was one other little casino on the other side that Becky used to work at. One of our teachers, she could tell you, it was way back 80s, 90s. And then Little Caesars was in the other corner, towards the other corner. And then across from that, there was this whole bank of payphones. And throughout the day, when lines came up at Little Caesars for the sports book, the bookies, they would call over the lines to the East Coast. That's where they got their lines from. They might have gotten their lines at different, other places, but Little Caesars, that bookie in there was literally the lines guy. And one of the reasons Bob Stupak took out $1 million, it was one of the biggest bets ever. It was $1 million, and he won. He won the $1 million plus his juice. I forget what the game was. This was back in 90 something, 94, 93. I forget, 95. Alex, do you remember what was the Bob Stupak game that he won the $1 million on? Do you remember? A Ravens game? Do you remember? No. But anyways, he won a big bet, $1 million, and he gifted Little Caesars a crapless dice game, and a car, an antique car that they were famous for. But yeah, so it's an interesting bit of Vegas trivia, buddy.
I like it.
All right, so
two more things.
Go ahead.
So Robert Barnes says, question: have firm dates for the birthday bash?
What's this?
If we have any firm dates for the birthday bash.
So we're working on firm dates.
It's going to be a bit of a staycation.
The Bengals.
The Bengals. What year was it? January 22nd, 1989.
1989. Holy crap! January
That was a while
22nd.
ago.
He
Wow.
bet $1,050,000 to win $1 million.
$1,050,000 to win
Juice
$1
is
million.
50,000.
Yeah, the juice is 50. Yeah, thank you, sir. Perfect. Yeah, that was Mark there. Fantastic. Yeah. So true story. I mean, it was amazing. I wasn't there for that part of it, but I would definitely. It was so cool. You could see all those bookies. You couldn't use those phones most of the day because there were bookies calling in all the lines. So if you were an East Coast bettor back then, you got your lines from Little Caesars, quite literally.
Amazing.
All right.
Another thing,
Go ahead.
super chat from Principal Skinner, 1999. For Sticky's B-Day Fund. This
Wow.
goes to Sticky's first Keno cards.
Principal Skinner paid my rent last month. A good thing for you, yeah. That was by the way, you're the first. That was the first shooter I ever actually bet the ATS and got paid on the ATS. So that was fantastic because I'm not one for betting side bets like that,
Right.
to be honest with you. And but of course we were all having fun. And yeah, so he almost shot it twice in a row.
Ooh,
that's how
that's
good.
tough to do.
Yeah,
Tough
that
to
was
do.
tough to do. All right, you ready?
A question for Mark says, so Jason says, question, on dice, what is a common mistake that players can do that appear like cheating?
Common mistake, well, that could be pass posting that don't. That's one, and oftentimes because people don't know craps very well, it's basically new players, right? It's a very intimidating game, so they come up and they don't know where to bet. It may look like they're cheating when they pass post that don't, or they might take money off a pass line. Those are really the two right there that might look like cheating, but they really don't know what they're doing, right? So that's where, again, we go back to the intent. And that's where the dealer, when you see a player that is unsure of what they're doing, it's up to you to definitely educate them on the game, and you do it in such a way that is nice. And I'm sorry, but you're not supposed to take money off that, or you're not supposed to bet that after the puck puck is on. So it might appear that it's cheating, but again, what was the intent? Oftentimes the intent was not to cheat, but because they just don't know the game.
Yeah, 100%. I think taking the pass line is the most common.
Taking the passing, yeah.
Because they just don't know any better. They might see someone take money off the don't, and then they assume they can just take money. You know?
Right.
Or as people are taking money from the field and other areas as they're getting paid, they're like, well, I can take mine off. I'm not happy.
Sure.
All right, so recruiting dealers to assist collusion. Huh.
What is collusion? Collusion is where a dealer and a player, they call it a dealer-agent scam. The agent is the player, and the dealer is in on the scam. That is one of the most dangerous things that happen. And what will happen is dealers could be approached by a player to say, we'll cut you in on this if you cheat with us. If you're a dealer, don't get involved. I'll tell you, because you will get caught eventually. You might not get caught on day one, but you definitely get caught. And that does happen where players will recruit the dealers to get in on the scam. Whether it be doing a false shuffle or, there's so many different ways to do it. So, and it does happen. It does happen. And oftentimes, the dealers, actually every time, the dealer will get arrested with the players. It's basically a team game, if you will, between the player and the dealer.
I've seen this a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but this is more common. In some ways, more common than just a player-only things that I've seen on a dice game, where there's collusion. Amazingly, collusion with a whole table recently came up at a casino who we won't name, might begin with a B, and be like a bell. Mm-hmm. But they had a whole crew who got pinched for being in collusion. They literally orchestrated where a player would come up at a hopping bet, and a hopping bet is a bet on the next roll of the dice, obviously.
Yep.
And whatever the person threw in, like $50, they would be like, "That's a bet," and then whatever rolled, that was the roll.
We call that ghost bets. Those are ghost bets. Basically, they will mumble something, and the dealer books whatever hits.
Yeah.
And when you have an entire crew that is turned, we call it turning the dealers. You turn the dealers, and they will actually cheat the game with the player.
Yeah.
Now that story there, David, those dealers are part of the excluded list for for gaming control. So they've made it. Now, when you get on the excluded list, that means you cannot step foot in any Nevada casino, not even to go in to eat at a restaurant. You're just excluded completely of going into a casino. It's actually a crime to go into a casino. You get arrested for it.
Yeah.
When you're on the excluded list.
Question for me, actually. do casinos share that information, and how do they share that information?
Oh, that's a great question.
Share what information? I'm sorry.
Like if someone cheated, like you just said, and they get 86th, like is that, how do they share that information? I'm just kind of curious.
That information is shared among different casinos. Oftentimes there are databases where surveillance does have databases where all this is shared.
Wow.
Yes.
So we have a couple questions here. David, were you ever approached to collude?
Sort of. In the very early stages, when I was first, I had some people, I had a guy meet me at the Fremont, actually. Me and a friend of mine were at the sportsbook there, and he asked me if I was a dealer, where I work. He knew where I was working. And I instantly got the sense that they were trying to feel me out for, working a table. And it was a very strange conversation. Like, they were definitely trying to interrogate how long have I been dealing, and this kind of thing, where I was dealing, would I be up for making some money, you know what I mean? Then it was leading on to, what are my bills looking like this month?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're leading down that road for sure.
Yeah, so I was actually with a friend of mine who was placing bets at the time, and I knew right away. There's been a few times where I've been dealing blackjack, and I've been asked to kill a hand, once. Why not we just call it a day? And I had this lady one time who had bet a big hand, and I don't remember specifically, but I know that she had asked me to kill a hand, and I actually reported her to my supervisor, and then she had been interacting this way with other dealers and try to tip them, say, hey, if you don't take, I'll just throw you $5, we'll just kill the hand. Where the dealer, she had gotten the dealer to actually, so by killing a hand, the dealer makes a mistake at some point, and then some supervisor will come over and say, listen, they'll just back the money off the spots and just kill the hand so nobody loses. And so she was doing it after the dealer had pulled a card. She was asking for them to to kill the hand.
Sure.
And offering to throw them some money. So I've heard of it sort of extraneously. Like I know of people that, especially on crap tables, because it's such a verbal game.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of it. There's a lot that a dealer can do on base and just accept it. Say, hey, bet, and it could be anything. Someone throws down one black check, and it says 96 across. Well, it could be 32 across.
Right.
It could be 96 across and working, and you're the dealer and you book it, and they're like, no, 32 across and working, or no, I was off. You follow? It's so easy to defraud the game.
That's why it's so hard from a surveillance perspective, because to your point earlier, they don't have, they can't hear what's going on in the game, but they can watch it. But there are ways that you take a look at it to say, how did that all happen? Does it look irregular? And that's really what we go on is, was it irregular or not? So. Yeah. When you take a look at this other scam where the crew was doing these ghost bets, how likely is it for the players to have this many bets that hit every single time? And it was astronomical.
It was millions. They won $1 million they took from the game, right?
Yep.
At least. Which I find it so weird that they got away with it as long as they did. It went on for like a year, right?
For sure.
Is what they investigated. There was an incident at the Wynn, by the way, back in the day. And the rumor goes that Steve Wynn looked back on the cameras and started literally firing everyone associated with this scam. I won't go into all the details, but I know a few dealers related to this from back in the day. And a lot of supervisors were not safe, even though, so what he did basically is he scrolled back surveillance. And if you were within a foot of that podium when something would have been reported and you didn't sort of carry it on, I mean, if you heard it, had a whim, he just fired you. Now, you weren't fired like with direct cause because he couldn't prove anything, you follow? And I know a lot of wonderful people, or not a lot, a couple specifically, who just happened to be in the pit and really didn't know. And I trust that they know because they've had exemplary careers, you follow? But he went back and said, listen, if you were close to what was going on and you if you didn't sniff it out or hear about it, he just felt like everybody had to go. Wow. And that's what they did. They, I was, what's interesting? I do have a collusion story. I actually do have a direct, I went to work at the Imperial Palace, the IP, many years ago. One of our dealers, also, he was one of the dealers. I probably should have said, but he wasn't in collusion, nothing like this. It was someone else was involved, but he was sort of part of the fallout. We both have had. So I was hired several days before they decided to let all these dealers go that were at the IP. It was a table for table job.
Wow, nice.
You see, so
Yeah.
it promoted kind of bad behavior.
Yep.
And dealers were setting up bets with themselves with the help of the players, some specifically. And a few dealers got sort of ensnarled in that, where there were layover bets or you were tapping someone out, and it was hard not to be involved, even by accident.
Sure.
You follow
Sure.
because
Yep.
if you have a third base dealer and the person's there and they have a dealer bet that they've colluded with the player, and now you're coming in as the new dealer,
Yep.
that bet's still in play.
Yep.
So who's to say who was the at risk kind of thing.
Yep.
So it was interesting because they were basically able to collect like ridiculous amounts of tokes off of dead games that just weren't getting the kind of action you would expect. You
Wow,
follow?
yeah.
So I showed up at the point. So my story goes, I showed up at the podium one morning, and they let go 11 dealers that day. They brought them in, talk shit. A few of them they had already let go, but some of them they literally had them show up for their shift. In dealer, you know what I mean? That was the punishment.
Yep.
But this was back when, nowadays they probably would have arrested some of those guys.
Oh, for sure.
They were all guys, by the way. It wasn't a single girl, not that I remember. But they would have perp walked them because casinos love doing that. They love, this is the cheater, we'll arrest them on the game. And they love bringing you in, by the way.
Yep.
So don't expect a nice call while you're at home saying, hey, we caught you cheating, don't come in. They love
Make an
having
example.
you. They love having you come in.
Yep.
They love putting the bracelets on you. And perp walking your ass right out the
sure.
game. Oh, 100%. The day that they call you to make sure you come in, maybe they offer you a double, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, fantastic.
that might be an
That's
indicator
the
right
guy.
there. Yeah.
That's the day, yeah. All right, you ready?
I have tons of questions. by the
Oh,
way.
a lot of questions. Wow.
So going back to earlier, if you're excluded from a casino and the databases, does that include just Nevada or outside too?
If you go to the excluded list on the Gaming Control Board website, that would mean that you are only excluded in Nevada. You could go to another state, unless that state is excluded you, right?
Yeah.
So if you go right to their website, you can see everybody who is excluded. And again, any of them, if they were to step foot in a Nevada casino, they would be arrested.
Interesting.
And just to add to that, most casinos will honor if they look at these lists, and they're pretty cognizant. I say that because there have been some really big, high profile issues recently. I won't go into it. There's a movie going to be made out of one of them, for example. And the casinos have definitely sort of taken a much more proactive role in kind of looking around. Amazingly, casinos were islands unto themselves, a very competitive environment. So you would have, and it seems hard to believe, but let's say you're a big ass player who loses $3 million at a casino, okay? But somehow you get, you're involved or entangled in something related to that casino. Maybe it's marker action or a friend of yours you referred, and because once you get to that level, there's all sorts of different things, dynamics that go on. So for example, if you're a big player, maybe you refer another big player who might be a little shady, but the casino's willing to say, okay, no worries, we'll work it out as long as on paper everything looks good. And then something goes bad, but then they get accepted at a whole different casino. Maybe not the same owners, but a different casino. This goes on all the time. It's amazing to me that they haven't been in the business of sharing a lot of this information with each other, or the casinos can be, can I say a little bit greedy? I mean, they're willing to say, okay, if you come to us, and they'll try to change the rules a little bit to make it more transparent, maybe, and say, yeah, you had a problem over there, but when you come to us, let's do this, this, and this, and we'll make a better go of it. But it hasn't always worked out so well. So I do know that casinos, especially on the bigger levels, the upper tiers, they're much more cognizant. If you get put on these lists, it becomes increasingly more difficult to play.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So they, even if it's like Mark said, we have the Nevada blacklist is what it's called, and that will. And this, by the way, started from way back in the day because they're worried about the gangsters and the proliferation of the mob and things like this, and they had to appear like it was an honest racket. And by the way, the Clark County or the Gaming Commission was famous for really putting an end to some really notorious people and holding their ground, even though they were threatened and harassed. There's all these stories out there that they went through and they literally had to hold their ground. There's some famous, really famous stories on how they did that. But anyways, all right.
Once you're on the list, there's no coming off. So that's one thing to think about.
Yeah, it's a pretty permanent. Yeah,
you're on there for good.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, there's no way off. The appeal process is long, but once you exhaust that, you're out.
Yep.
You're kind of el screw it. All right, what else you got? Anything else?
Why is advantage card play considered cheating?
Ooh.
Why is
I knew we
advantage
were going to get
card play.
advantage card play, like counting cards.
Counting cards is actually not cheating. Okay, that's one thing is we have to draw the distinction between cheating and advantage play, right? What advantage play is you're playing the game by its rules, but you actually have an advantage against the house, right? So when we talk about card counting, that is a classic form of advantage play, which means now you flip the advantage from the house to the player. It's not cheating, but we don't really want you to play because we can't make any money on you. So we basically restrict your play in blackjack. So it's very important not to confuse the two, where advantage play is playing by the rules. You're not doing anything wrong by statute, but you do have an advantage against the house, so we will stop that.
Yeah. I mean, casinos clearly you need to win some money. They got big bills to pay.
That's right. That's right. Of course.
So they it's called walking off a game, or if you're found cheating, and supervisors, a lot of basic floor supervisors don't have all the skill sets necessarily, but without a doubt, once that win gets above a certain limit, or if the play gets a bit funky, then you'll have your those supervisors then will start playing a role. Surveillance is taught to look out for this kind of play.
Sure.
They'll call it down to the pit, then you'll have a shift boss come over, they'll watch the game a little bit, and then ultimately they'll just walk over and they'll say, hey, there's actually some really famous there's some real famous ones on YouTube where people have been walked off and they've explained sort of how it's done. But casinos are usually, it's not illegal, so you won't get arrested.
But before you back somebody off, you have to be 100% sure that they actually are an advantage player. Somebody might be counting cards, but are they really counting cards? You have to really analyze that play. There's a very rigid process of doing that to make sure that they actually do have a verifiable edge against the game. If you could be backing off a really good play and they're not counting cards.
I was backed off at the horseshoe. So I have this notorious system, especially when I'm loaded up. I bet 2 spots. At the time, it's $5 each, and I let the one spot do 7. Either one do 7 hands of wins, right? So I've had, in some cases, I've had $5 and $1,500, and it attracts all the supervisors.
Sure.
Start paying real close attention.
Yep.
But they don't know me, because if they knew me, they would know that there's no way in hell Dave is counting cards.
Right.
I'm just going with the hand that wins. This one kept winning. And so I've been backed off a game. I've been asked to cash out. They didn't take my checks or anything, but I've been asked to cash out and go home. And I was able to play there again, not too long.
Right.
I wasn't blacklisted or anything like that. But they just weren't interested in. It was so curious. They were like coming at it from different angles, trying to figure out where I was in the shoe, and you know what I mean. It was like this whole thing. But yeah, no, I think that's it. As supervisors need to be trained well to know what is and what isn't.
Have to know, because here's the deal with card counting. A big tell, if you will, is if they're spreading their bets. They're going from a base and they spread it 10 units, 12 units, 20 units. That could be the first red flag, if you will.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, though. What if you're spreading your bets in a positive shoe, and you're spreading your bets in a negative shoe? Then you're not counting. You just like to spread your bets. That's all it really is.
That's it. Well, Alex likes to spread his bets. He spreads
all the
everything
time,
all
right?
the time,
Right?
yeah.
All the time.
He's a big spreader, dude. Yeah, 100%. Okay,
But I will tell you this: what if you spread the bets in a positive shoe and you flat bet in a negative shoe? That tells a much different story, right? So
Right.
now that would verify that you could probably be counting cards. But if
Yeah.
you're always increasing your bets in all the shoes, whether it be positive or negative, then we're not going to back you off, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, love it, dude. I mean, you were literally the guy. See, he's going to fit right in. He already knows about spreading, sir. He's quantified spreading. Is spreading for the win. We got Alex now in the background of our D&D. Okay. All right, so let's do this one. And this is interesting because back in the day...
I still have more questions.
Oh, you got more questions?
Yeah.
Well, let's go with the questions. go.
What happens if an excluded player is a guest of a whale in a restaurant? I can't see them saying no to a whale.
Oh, they will.
Well, here's the deal. They cannot. An excluded person cannot be in the casino. Period. They just can't. The casino cannot allow them to be in their establishment.
Yep. Under any. Yeah.
It is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable because you want the whale to stay there. I get that part, but that person cannot be in the casino.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's almost like this. What if a whale was in the casino and they wanted to bring their 18-year-old son on the floor with them? They can't have somebody under the age of 21 in the gaming area. Even though we still want the whale to be playing, we still cannot have that 18-year-old on the floor. If we want to draw that parallel.
Yeah. All right, what else you got, Sticky?
Are people who control dice considered advantage players as well, or frowned upon, or is that not a thing?
Controlled dice, that is a great topic. So when we talk about controlled dice, if they are sliding the dice, that would be controlling them and cheating, yes, because you're not supposed to be sliding the dice across the layout, right? So if you have somebody setting the dice and trying to control them, doesn't necessarily mean they are controlling them, because there is this myth out there that somebody can set the dice a certain way and they can land a certain way and make that happen. Basically come up with whatever they want them to roll.
And we have a lot of fans that are into that.
They
a lot of
do
dice
that?
setters.
Okay.
They're in. They pay. Go ahead.
So the thing is I have never seen in my career somebody banned or backed off because they were controlling the dice.
100%.
Okay? They've been backed off for card counting.
Yep.
They've been backed off, but they've never been backed off for controlling the dice. The other thing, too, is this. Try proving it. Okay? So somebody has the dice here, and the dice actually go up in the air. They bounce and they tumble. Prove that those dice were controlled. Can't prove it. But I can prove this. If I slide the dice across the layout, and the dice has a 6 up, and there's still a 6 on the die by the time it gets to the end of the layout, then I can verify that has been slid. But I cannot prove that those dice were controlled in any way when they were airborne. The other thing you got to think about is how much force it takes those dice to have it go off its axis in the air. To have those dice actually land, here's the thing, you have to think about a die. It's right here. Let me pull out this die, right? Here's this die here, right? When this lands, for that to be controlled, it has to actually land perfectly flat. If that is off its axis by just a micrometer, even just a little bit, and it hits that corner, it's going to go into a full tumble, and when it hits the alligator skin, it's over with. You have to actually have this die come up in the air. It has to land perfectly level in order to be controlled. Okay? I can control it if I take it here and slide it across the layout. That's easy to do. But to have this die actually come up and turn in the air and actually land like that, every single roll
We have people working on it.
Is nearly impossible.
We have people working on it. I agree.
But the thing is
I get this question a lot.
I've never seen anybody backed off in my career for this. Never.
So the only time I've ever seen someone backed off for being a setter is taking too long to set the dice.
That I've seen.
Because you take away from the game.
Exactly.
I have my famous story, and I'm not going to say who it is, and a lot of you know who it is, but I dealt on a dice game, and this person came with a whole group of people, and they asked them before they even really made contact with the table to leave the casino. Not leave the casino, but not to play dice. Mm-hmm. Because it's one of those things where they had these weird, I would say, because we do have a lot of people who like to set dice. I'll be honest with you, I set my dice a certain way when I throw them. I don't practice my throw, I don't do anything like that, but there's a certain way I like to fix my dice before I throw them, because I'm superstitious that way, you know what I mean? And I just want to have that. But I've heard, so there are people that claim that they were backed off for winning a lot of money. And that's just not a thing. I've seen people take hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars from a craps game. Sure. And they weren't backed off. And I know someone who happened to set the dice, a similar hardware set, by the way, similar to the way I set dice, and take $1 million. He was in 300,000. Him taking $1 million was not a far cry, right? And they didn't back him off. And he took forever. He bounced he did these practice rolls, and you know what I mean. But they tolerated it because he was in 300,000. You follow? Yep. So it's one of those we get asked a lot, and I have seen a slider.
Sliders, that's definitely cheating.
100% cheating. I've seen one person. I've also seen a guy. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I opened up a casino. I opened up. It might have been actually a Players. No, it was at Bell. It was at the Bell. We had this guy come on, and apparently had figured out a way to apply something to his pinky, and throw the dice and try to manufacture a roll. And when he released it, I actually was watching. He looked literally out of the bayou. Oh my God! Of course I didn't lower my phone. He looked like he literally came out of there's a lot of swamps down there, dude. And they got the swamp people. I mean, no takeaway from swamp people. I love crocodile skins, but he released the die, and you could see there was like this substance on the die. It's the only time I've ever seen someone try to literally put something on the die.
For sure.
And it was so weird. They took him off luckily the boat hadn't moved yet, so we were still at dock, I believe. I don't know, but anyways, it was the only time I've ever seen someone with trying to influence the dice with some kind of solution. It was a real sticky,
There's two different solutions you can use. I think one is a zinc, and there's another solution to either make the die skid faster, and others to slow it down.
Oh.
So there's two different solutions you can actually put on dice.
Yeah.
And that would definitely be something you are trying to defraud the game. Once again, that would also be in that category of cheating.
Yeah.
But yes, they can actually. It's almost like a daub. When you talk about daub on a card, they're marking the cards with a certain substance.
Yeah.
They're actually marking these, not marking the dice, but influencing the dice with a substance.
Dude, I am such a good friend. I am literally texting away while in the middle of a podcast. Okay, ready? All right, let's go to number. It's slide number 6. I actually got the slide up here. Altering equipment, making cards, switching dice. I figure we'll do the little visual. I don't know, just
marking cards,
so we can go
switching
back
dice.
to this.
Yep. So this here, marking cards. Let's say, for example, they're playing a handheld game. It could be 3-card poker. It could be anything where they're handling the cards. They can use a substance to mark the cards, and they could have glasses on of some sort to see those marks. Right. That is going to definitely put the advantage in their favor. But here's how it really works when you talk about marking cards. Let's say, for example, they call me the mechanic. Okay, I go in, I mark all the aces on the 3-card poker game. Then I'm out the door. Then David comes in and he plays. Now he plays to the aces, right? Hey, you're playing to the... David didn't do anything. I'm already gone. The mechanic comes in, they mark the cards, and the innocent person comes in and makes all the money. So it's teamwork, right? So you have to really be careful of that. Is David didn't mark the cards, he had nothing on him. I do all the dirty work, and then David takes advantage of it. Switching dice.
What do you think about edge sorting?
Edge sorting, that's another thing too, right? Edge sorting, it means that the diamonds or the pattern on the backs of the cards are not uniform. So when they cut the cards, they're not perfect. And you might have a larger diamond on this side and a smaller diamond on this side. What they do is they turn the cards, and basically they're sorting the cards. And now when the cards are on the layout, they can see which ones are the high cards, which ones are the low cards. So they can actually... From a game protection standpoint, you always have to assume that all cards can be read from both sides. Always assume that. So a card that is face down can be read from its back, and it can be read from its front.
Wow.
Every single card.
I want to read the card from the back.
Would be nice, right?
I need that
and
skill.
Actually you can.
There are some people who can do it. We met one.
Right. But in that case, you have to always assume that every single card in that deck is marked. If you always run to that assumption, then you have to definitely protect it, right?
This is why they have the feathers on the top. This is why they black out shoes now.
That's why they got the shoes. They got the Harrigan shoe plate. That there, so you can't see the first card coming out of the shoe. So again, you take let's say an example, a 3-card poker game, right? Sometimes the dealers take the 3-card poker game, they put the dealer's cards on and they spread all 3 cards. Right there, you've just exposed all 3 cards. Well,
wow.
I haven't exposed them because they're face down. But you always have to assume that all of those cards can be read from both sides. So instead of spreading the cards, you keep them in one neat pile, so at least you're concealing 2 of the cards.
Wow. Fantastic. Okay. So the using computers. Okay, using computers to count cards or clock wheels.
Well, before we
did we miss
fully
one?
transition,
What happened?
Ever seen cheating involving modifying the table, drinking, like spilling drinks, rubbing the felt, etc.?
Have I seen rubbing the felt or spilling drinks?
Like cheating involving modifying the table. like example is drinking, spilling a
Or someone
drink,
spilled
rubbing
a
a
drink on
film.
purpose. I mean, when that happens, they just shut the game.
They would
There's
shut the
nothing you can
game
do.
down. What's going to happen is they would, if the drink goes into the rack and so forth, it slows the game down to a maximum. Now there are drink scams out there, yes, where it's internal, where the dealer might have a check in their hand and they take the check and they drop the check in the drink and move the drink for the guest. There is obviously shouldn't be happening. So those kinds of things. Also, you have a stack of checks over here, and I have my drink, and I put something sticky on the bottom. Well, let me tap your checks for good luck, and now I got a check on the bottom of my drink. Those things do happen too, so you got to be cognizant of that. But as far as spilling a drink and so forth, no. Now there is something out there that's very new, where it's a substance where they can rub it on the layout. Okay. When the card comes out of the shoe and goes over the substance on the layout, they can actually see through the card with a certain pair of glasses.
Oh my God!
Wait, really? That's a thing?
Wow.
Yes. Now, it's not prevalent, but here's the deal. If you ever see somebody on a dead game go up to a blackjack game, the shoe is here, and rub the layout here for no reason, they could be applying that solution. When that card comes out, they can actually see through the card and see what that
Oh
card
my
is.
God! Holy smokes!
So, that's something you have to think about too. So yes, rubbing the layout, if you have that solution, it is possible.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of if I've ever. There's a lot of weak dealers out there, so I can see, back in the day. So nowadays, any sort of foreign substance on a game, for them, especially if it hits the checks, they'll close that game. Especially with COVID, that's not even a thing. So, but I can see where that might have played a role. Interestingly, as far as altering equipment, are we on the altering equipment thing? Yeah. Back in the day, before there's actual video of people like replacing whole shoes.
Oh yeah.
Distracting a dealer, coming up and literally replacing the whole shoe.
Yep.
And doing lots of things quite like that. But that's harder to do. There's even there was even a famous ring here in town where they used to, when the slots were on reels, they would put bars to get the slots to stop at a certain thing, and they would do it in waves. So they would have one guy drill it, one guy come in a little bit, and then eventually the person, like you said, the last person comes and sits, and that's the winner. Oh my God, look what happened.
But they really didn't do anything. They were part of the team, though. They're
the team.
guilty by association there, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. By the way, one of the most amazing collusion was one of the guys responsible for the chips on a Keno machine back in the day. The Keno, because we love Keno. We have a big Keno. Our Keno audience is split between haters and not haters. Okay, so there was a guy. It was pretty famous. So he was putting in this code in the chips where if you played a certain pattern like twice and then you switched, it would come up with these 8 spots. So members of his family were cashing out, like he would be like, yeah, play this 8 spot on this machine, and he worked for one of the big gaming companies. We won't say who, but and that was talk about collusion, man. He was setting up these Keno. He was literally in the chip itself to process it. He was like the guy.
Wow.
And they would go in, all of a sudden they would hit like $40,000 Keno jackpots and go, oh my God. Wow, how lucky, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then they started seeing, wait a minute, his uncle, his mother, his sister, his brother,
Yeah, now
my
it's
God,
getting a
it's
little
getting a little weird.
Yeah.
He'd be like, no, they're just very lucky in my family, very lucky. All right, so
128 likes, by the way.
oh my
the
God,
hat's gone.
oh my
There we
God,
go.
the hat is gone. Crap. I guess we got to give it away. All right, because Mark. So basically, here's the way it works. People have to work for the hat a little bit now. Okay, They're gonna spam the channel. You're gonna give them a word. And they're gonna spam the channel, and then once Sticky tells you to stop, you're gonna say stop, and then we'll select. You're gonna pick a number, and then you'll select who wins. So give them a word that they are gonna spam. You don't want it to be too long a word. We don't want the Thai, the guy, the Thai monarch, or his name is like 80 letters long. Nothing like that. Something simple that maybe is on theme with what we're doing today.
Some people are suggesting cheater or collusion.
How about just protection?
Protection. Interesting. So type in protection in the chat, spam it, and
Spam protection.
let's see
and
if
now
you
we
win.
get to chill. If you need to pee, we let them spam it a little bit, and they do. There's a few good spammers. Yeah, that's funny. We got a few good spammers out there. A Snapper, don't even waste time spamming the chat. Is he out there? Is Snapper out there?
Snapper's out there.
Oh my God, because Snapper has already won like 5 times. He's a winner by default. He had the massive epic 30-roll challenge. Snapper, we miss you, buddy.
Wow, holy smokes.
Really? Is it a lot?
Yeah, it's a
All
lot.
right, fantastic. This is a great show, dude. We're gonna be doing this a few more times. We're gonna have you on.
Let's do it.
We're gonna game protection is big.
Yep.
It needs to be a bigger category, and it should be. And kudos to Resorts World for having you on board because you're literally the guy. I'll be honest with you. You're one of the very few people I know who literally knows all the games, like every game. I only know one other person, even close. You know what I mean? But
I wanted to say this real
all right,
quick.
ready?
Snapper said rigged in the middle of all the
yeah,
spamming.
he said it's rigged.
Oh, it's rigged.
He's won like I don't know how many times. Snapper wins. He's just a very lucky man. Because all right,
Okay.
ready?
Mark, tell me when to stop. Whenever you're ready.
Stop.
Give me a number between 1 and 20.
18.
18. Matthew, you are the winner. I'll be typing your name in chat so you know who
There
you
goes
are.
the hat.
Okay.
And I'll be typing the email for you to email me your address so I can email that out to you.
Yeah.
Congrats, Matthew.
Yeah. Make sure it's an address we can make connection with. Because apparently Snapper's had to move around a little bit, huh? He's been under duress. That was hilarious, by the way, Snapper. I got that email too. But he knows. We'll leave that between us. Okay. Altering equipment, switching dice. I've never. People ask me all the time about switching. I've never seen that happen before.
It's very rare now. I mean, back in the day, it was a big thing, but
Yeah.
we have so many controls in place right now. I mean, we train the dealers, but here's the thing, too. When you're on stick, okay, do not take your eyes off the dice when they're not in the center of the game, right?
Yeah.
Because the minute you start casino gazing and stuff like that, it only opens it up for a dice switch, right? There's all these ways of, from the jacket to another die in their hand and so forth. And it's always important to, keep your eyes on the dice all the time. The other thing, too, is when they switch in their die, different ways it could be switched in. It could be a top. What is a top? A top is basically a misspotted die. Could be all 5s on it, right? Those are very risky. It's only in there for one roll and they get it out of there because it's too much heat, right?
Right.
It could be a top. It could be a
Interesting.
flat. A
Yeah.
flat is something where it's not actually a perfect cube. Think of a shoebox. That's a flat, right? So you take a die and you actually press it down, so now the surface area on one side is much larger than the others. It's going to be favored to those numbers. It could be loaded. They could have a load in there, right? So those are the different ways, and then they put these dice in, and there's always a way to know which die is theirs and which one is the house. And here's the way they know that, okay? This is one thing that a lot of people don't know. That is always the deuce tray alignment. You got 3 here and you got the 2 here, and it always forms a V. But what the cheat does is they have their gaffed die that's loaded, and they reverse the 3. They call it a reverse tray. So what happens now is when they're looking for their die versus the casino's dice, they know which one is theirs on a reverse tray. So whenever you take a look at a die, always make sure that deuce tray alignment is correct. Otherwise, it's definitely not your die. But there's other ways to inspect the dice to make sure that you have a key letter spot that's in there. You have all of your the serial numbers. Here's the thing: when a die goes off the game, oftentimes you might get the die. Oh, serial number's right, and you throw it back in. It's not enough. It's not enough because that serial number could be stamped on there in 2 minutes. They can get your logo. They can stamp your logo on there. They can stamp the location on the 1. They can do all that, right? But the key letter spot, which is through the 4 and on the center pip of the 3, there's a letter in there. You got to check the key letter spot. You got to check and make sure that all sides of the dice add up to 7. You got a 6 on this side, a 1 on this side. If they don't add up, we call that a top. It's basically a misspotted die. Make sure all the spots are right. And always look for that deuce tray alignment to make sure that it forms a V. Because if not, it's definitely not your die. So all these things are, oftentimes people aren't trained on what to look for. Basically, when that die goes off the game, if the serial number is right, throw it back in. It's certainly not enough. Sometimes we scribe the dice to make sure that there is just a little point on the die on one side of the dice to say that's ours. Because here's the deal. I'm a cheat and I want to come in and I want to put my die in the game. I come up, I get the dice, I know I have the serial number. I've already got your logo, that's easy to do. and I can get the 1 and I can put Las Vegas, Nevada on the 1. Those are easy to stamp on there, right? The key letter spot, that's really hard to do. There's going to have a letter in there. It could be A through Z. It could be anything, right? That's hard to do. Of course, my die is loaded, by the way, my gaff die. And then I've got the 3 and the 3 reversed on this. So when I actually throw this die, okay, all of the markings are there. All of the serial numbers there, all the stamps are right. But the one thing that might not be on there is the scribe. And they use this little needle here, this is the scribe, and they're going to put a little dimple on one of the sides there. It's hard to find a scribe because the cheat doesn't know where the scribe is located. It could be on any face of the die. So in order to get the scribe, I have to actually pick up the die as a shooter. Imagine this, I'm a shooter. I get it up. Sir, what are you doing? Well, I'm looking for the scribe now. A little suspicious, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So when you have that scribe on there, now only the supervisor knows what that scribe is. So that's something to really think about when you inspect the dice and what to look for. What to look for.
I mean, I've been in this business a long time, and no one's ever given me that much detail about a dice.
Oh,
it's missing. No, 100%.
Yep.
I mean, I've been around dice for quite literally forever. Okay.
One question.
Good.
Is the box person spinning the die by the corners a real thing, or they're just trying to look fancy?
That's fancy stuff, right? Okay, the thing is, when we do a balancing, you use this balancing caliper to do that. And when you do the balancing, put it in here like this, and you spin it around to see if there's a load in there. For a supervisor to do that, a lot of that's all for show. Okay, can they really see if it's loaded that way? No, it's not verifiable. This here's where you really want to see if it's loaded. And here's another thing too, when you do a balancing caliper, you put one point in here and you put the other point in over here, right? When you spin it, I've seen this before, okay? You spin this, let me see if I can get it in there, almost. You always have to make sure that the die comes to a natural rest. And if it comes to a natural rest and it's rocking back and forth, that would tell you that the die is loaded. So if you see this, they spin it like this and they stop it. Does that tell me if it's loaded or not? No. You have to see what it does at the very end of the spin to see if it rocks back and forth. That will tell you if it's loaded or not.
Hold that up there. I think that I can have it.
Let me see if I can get this back in there. I loosened it up here. Can't see it very well. There we go. There we go. Now, when that spins around, at the very end of the spin, you want to see if it really rocks back and forth. If that rocks back and forth, a very heavy rock, that's going to tell you that it's been loaded. And that there is a nice smooth rock. That's perfectly okay. A loaded die is going to go just like this, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's how you would see if a die is loaded. Also, when you weigh a die, you use a scale. The scale, it must be between 9.5 and 9.7 grams. Anything over that would be considered a loaded die. This one's a little bit under, and you would go each of these here. These are 8.8. These are a little bit lighter than what the usual ones are. Usually they are between 9.5 and 9.7 grams on the dice. If you weigh a die and it comes in 12 grams, you've got a load in there. You use a magnet on the end of the scribe. What you'll do to look for a metallic load is you'll take the dice and you'll put them in a line here.
Metallic loads.
And what you'll do is you'll take the magnet and you'll go like this. If the dice do react to the magnet, then you've got a metallic load inside there. So these are ways to look and see if a die is loaded.
That would be a rough load to carry around. No. Yeah.
Here's a good question.
Go.
What good does it do to introduce one loaded dice to the game? Even if you know it will land on a number, there's still a second dice that's random.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Let's do this. Okay, let's say, for example, I have a die loaded, right? And I loaded in on the 1. So I know that this is going to be favored to the 6, right? It's not a guarantee, but it's a percentage move. If I bet the field, I'm favored. Because you got to remember, if it's 6-4, 6-5... 6-3, 6-4, 6-5, or 6-6 comes in, I win. And if 6-6 comes in, I can win triple. The only way I can lose is on a 6-1 and a 6-2. So what you've essentially done is you've actually put the favor in the advantage in your favor by just having the 6 come up. Yes, you could still lose, but what they call that a percentage move.
Wow, very interesting. I'm intrigued. Okay. Here we go. You ready? What is it? What do we just do? Using computers. Okay, using computers to count cards or clock wheels. We haven't really addressed that. That was the next one. That's been done quite a bit.
Sure.
I know that people have been, where someone has sort of taken up a position at another table, and has been able, especially with handheld decks, and have been and they relay back using some electronic to the person. In fact, there was a famous one. They were using this electric shock to register. Okay, they got a high card, low card kind of thing to tell the person to hit or stay.
Sure.
And this has been sort of documented. There's quite a few stories of those. So using computers to count cards or clock wheels. Clock wheels, really?
You can clock a wheel, especially when that ball is coming down to when it's slowing down. You can use computers to actually clock it and predict where that ball is going to land.
No way.
Whenever you
Alex, can you tell Alex how this is done? We need to win some money quick. We got legal bills.
There are computers that can be used, and if you do that...
Wow.
Say that one more time.
Yeah. Let him keep him in. And if you do that...
have computers to clock the wheel, and the speed of the wheel, speed of the ball, and by doing that, you can predict where that ball is going to land. Now, there is one element in there that we cannot control, and that's bounce.
Uh-oh. Well,
you can't control the bounce, but you can control where you can predict where that's going to land in that wheel.
And then you could feed that data back to the person playing somehow, right?
That is correct.
Wow.
So that's why, as a dealer, it is very important you are waving off the layout with 3 revolutions remaining, okay? And any bets that come in after that could be suspicious.
Oh, I think we're gonna have a few questions, no? Because everybody wants to lock in a winning roulette strategy. There's your winning roulette strategy.
But I will say this, if you use a computer, it is illegal. It is illegal.
It is 100% illegal.
You cannot use a device. You cannot use a device.
Any kind of device. The guy with the electricity, he was barred. There's quite a few stories. A few people at the Horseshoe, by the way. I don't know, back in the day, that was the one place, like, no one, they took you outside, dude. They made an example of you to everybody else they took outside, But now they just arrest you.
They will arrest you.
Yeah, they will arrest you.
They actually had an iPhone app, I think it was, and it was in stealth mode. So basically on the iPhone, it was still a black screen.
Okay.
And you could actually hit the plus and the minus and the plus and the minus on it.
Wow.
And then it would vibrate whether it was a high count or a low count
oh my
for counting
God.
cards.
Wow.
So when surveillance looks at the phone, you've got a black screen and you're just hitting your screen on a black screen. That's a little suspicious right there, right?
Yeah, of course.
So again, you're using a device.
Wow,
and
so
that is
interesting.
illegal.
No? Super interesting. Wow. Clocking the wheel. Holy crap. And that's true. That technology on both sides of this game is advancing so flipping quickly. We have an app that's coming out eventually. Chuck, where are you, Chuck? Crapsy, buddy. He's in the mix. We got a few things we got to do, but we will have one. So it's still coming. But yeah. Any more? Why, you have a question?
John, 21 Fun John.
Yeah.
Says
Hit plus,
Dennis's
John.
B-Day fun. Let's have a chill shot at Captain Morgan's.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, $20.
$20. He's loaded, dude. $20, John? No, okay.
But I do have some questions for Mark.
Go.
So,
Okay.
It says, do casinos care if players use some systems or what so-called advantage players?
Systems, no, you can use any system you want. As long as you're playing the game by our rules, no system will work mathematically. The math of the game will never change. Okay, you can use the martingale system, which is a loss pro. When we call a loss pro, every time you lose, you double your bet. There's a win pro, where every time you win, you double your bet, and so forth. You can use any system that you want, but at the end of the day, the math will never change. As long as you're not taking advantage of the game through card counting, where, of course, obviously, when the deck is rich in high cards, you up your bet. When it's rich in low cards, you lower your bet. Now, you're definitely taking advantage of the game. We won't allow you to play blackjack in that regard. But if you just want to double your bet after every loss, you can do that. Eventually, that martingale system will fail, because once you get to the max bet,
Dude.
it's over. But systems, you can use any system you want, just as long as you're playing the game by the rules.
Another question is, what brings more cheats, table games or slots?
That is a great question. In my career, I've seen more in tables. Yeah, back in the days, slots have come a long way. Slots, they used to have, with the handle, they call it cherry popping. They had the lights, they had the wands, they had the monkey paws. all that stuff. But that was for the older slots.
The mechanical slots.
The mechanical ones. The ones that we have today are much more advanced. So it's harder to cheat the slots. With the tables, it's a little bit easier because you have a human component in there that we can try to take advantage of. You try to exploit the weaknesses of the dealers. You try to exploit weaknesses in our equipment. Let's say, for example, I had a biased wheel on the game on a roulette game, right? And it was biased toward a certain number, and I knew it was biased. I would play that bias all day long. Well, whose fault is that? Is that the player's fault or is that the casino's fault? They play by our rules. But we were the ones that put the bias wheel on the floor. That's why it is so important that you regularly maintain and balance and test your wheels for all that.
We're going to get to that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
all right, good. Okay, ready?
I just got to say this, by the way. This is just funny.
Funny?
Vegas Pirate says, hookers bring more cheats.
Who does?
Hookers?
Oh, hookers? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that
is true.
Is it the hooker cheating or the customer or the John cheating? I don't know.
Yes.
Isn't that funny, John? They're called Johns, just so we're clear. Anyways, okay, ready? Can we move on? We got more questions? All right. Next one is, I get this a lot on Dice Game, making false claims.
Yeah, we already kind of went over this, though. You know, somebody who comes in and, I wanted to hit, not stand, or whatever. These are all definitely along those lines of defrauding the game, making false claims, and 100% shots. And it happens all the time.
Exploiting the rating system, by the way, top 10 ways to cheat the casino. So, believe it or not, the rating system as well gets not just the game itself, but people try to take advantage. In fact, Alex has a few strategies that try to work the rating system.
Absolutely.
But it's to play the game. It's while playing the game. It's kind of break-even strategies where with on roulette, higher Theo, you get you're able to get higher rating. With dice, of course, you're taking odds. You don't get a lot of Theo for that. There's no Theo whatsoever. So a lot of casinos don't give you rating. But there are definitely people who try to smooth up to a floor supervisor, get them to, especially if there's a floor supervisor in the mix. It's not just, slots. There's not a lot of opportunity to cheat the rating system on slots because it's literally with coin in, right?
Right.
But with a supervisor in the mix, or maybe even a poorly trained supervisor, you might be able to schmooze an extra couple, little higher tier rating, no?
Well, here's the way you do it, though. I mean, it's actually a game within a game, to be honest. Let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. I go up to a craps game, and I might get rated for, let's say, 40 rolls an hour, 50 rolls an hour, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And I go up to the game, and I bet $767 combat with $1,532 odds.
Nice.
What am I trying to do?
That's an anal toy bet.
Right? It's very unusual. Why are they doing this? There's only one reason: to bog the game down. So instead of getting 50 rolls, I'm only actually playing 10 rolls because the dealers on the floor have got to figure out what this pays, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening now is I'm getting credit for 50 rolls, but I'm only actually playing 10, and I'm getting all that Theo when I really didn't even risk it. You take European roulette, and they load up the racetrack, and we have overlapping maximums all over the layout, right? What happens there is the dealer has to look for all these overlapping maximums and give them back to the player. Well, instead of getting 40 spins an hour, I'm only getting 10, but I'm getting credit for 40. So these are the tactics that players can use in order to gain an advantage on the house.
And now you know.
Or well, we've already figured this out.
Yeah,
This out. Or you go into a Baccarat game, right, and you get 78 hands in one shoe, but I only play a half a shoe, right? We're going to give you credit for a half a shoe. If we give you credit for an entire shoe, then we're giving you double your rating, right? So this is a way to exploit the rating system in order to basically beat the game through the comps. Everybody knows that the math is the math. They cannot beat the game the way it is at the end of the day. They might beat it in the short term, yes, but it's a short-term loan we're giving you until you come back and lose it all, right? So basically what happens is that the math is the math. You can't beat the game. So what you do is you try to beat it through the rating system. So this is another tactic that can be used.
Mm-hmm. No, we know this very well, don't we, Alex? We're all about rating. That's why there's a lot of weak supervisors. That's why they're going to need this new course that we're developing to kind of avoid this. Hey, gentlemen, take care. Thank you so much. Good work. Fantastic. Wow, it's already 7. We've been doing this for 2 hours.
2 hours doesn't even seem like
it. Holy smokes! No,
wow.
we've been flying along. All right, well let's finish. Because as we've been going through this, we've been sort of dealing, and then card counting. We've already talked about card counting. And then exploiting weak dealers is big, absolutely huge in this town. It still goes on. We talked about the poor dealer giving out all the change. I know Lauren talks about in her class where one of the tactics that the players use is see how easily distracted a dealer can be by making some noise or sneezing, even simple things like this. And the dealers that will turn around on their game or look the other way, those are the dealers that they know they can take advantage of.
When you go to dealer school, they're going to teach you proper procedure, the proper way to do everything, right? And there's a reason for every single procedure. And when you go to CEG, we tell you the reasons behind these procedures, right? Mm-hmm. And once you understand that reason, you have to do it every single time. You have to deal it the right way. Don't be distracted, like what Lauren says, right? Don't be casino gazing. Don't be because, like I said before, and we already covered this. The cheats are going to shop the store, and they're going to find you, and they're going to say, "This is a weak dealer, and I am going to run them over." Right? Mm-hmm. Don't be that dealer. If you deal the game as you are taught by procedure, you're not going to be a target. And that's what's going to happen. You're on a blackjack game, and you're lifting up the whole card as it comes over, right? Oh, I'm going to attack that all day long, right? Now, let's ask this. Is that advantage play or is that cheating? Here's the deal. You've got a weak dealer that is lifting this whole card over here like this, and it comes down, right? Is that well, you showed it to me. You're showing it to me. So I'm actually taking advantage of the game because you're flashing the whole card. This is a weak dealer. Now, how do we know if it's cheating? Here's how it's cheating. This dealer, every time when David is on the game, is lifting this whole card, lifting the whole card each time, right? When David leaves the game, that dealer is no longer lifting the whole card. That's suspicious. Now it's collusion. That's where we can draw the distinction that it's cheating. So is it cheating or advantage play, right? I'm taking advantage of a weak dealer. I'm exploiting that weakness.
Interesting is that as a school, one of the things that we have tried, and I see this because, by the way, this is sort of Mark's list, okay? And based on his many years of training, being someone that's been part of this process and the protocols that go into the casino. And me and Alex have tried to create sort of a uniform policy. We've asked so many casinos, listen, we've been working with these dealers, these break-ins, these procedures. We're looking for a way to create some uniformity. What's amazing is that even shift per shift is different. So the protocols that one shift boss has are different than the protocols another shift boss has. And that lends itself to, poor game protection. Because clearly, you can not only do you can find the weak dealer, you can find the weak shift.
Sure.
And you can find the shift that's much more lenient, it's much more loosey goosey. You follow? Because it's quite amazing. I'll be honest with you. Like we've come across so many different auditioners, or people that from the casino that come and audition, always having some nuanced thing that seems a bit overblown, or this is the problem that we've had with, lots of supervisors are given this task, right? And maybe they're not an educator. Not everybody is. Some people that do can't teach. You follow?
Sure.
And so they, it's just been so frustrating for us as a school. I can't even begin to tell you. It's with dice and like we talked about with the 3-2. Because I'm looking through some of the things that you're talking about as far as training and the red flags. I mean, the very fact that some supervisors get onto a floor and then walk this rubber band. They cover these tables that they've never dealt themselves, and they just don't know, all these sort of or there's no training in place for them. I'm so, I'll be honest, like, I know having a training manager Resorts World seems, just genius, but there's quite a few casinos that don't have anybody like you.
Correct.
Everything is done sort of on a shift per shift base. They make some, okay, well, you've been in the business for 10 years, you know a few games. I know crap, dude. I know so many dealers, even on dice dealers, that are lazy, sling checks. Mm-hmm. You don't follow a basic procedure, order of operations, whatever the hell they want. I know a guy that hands place bets off, drops them into the cum and points to the guy. Yeah. Doesn't even hand off or heel off any bets. And that this guy is just a supervisor. You know what I mean? Because, he put in his time, so now he's a supervisor. It makes no sense. Yeah. Well, this has been a fantastic topic. So just so you guys know, Mark is working with us to develop a course that is going to be focused towards supervisors, those of us that are looking to kind of level up in this business. It's an area that CEG has wanted to address a very long time. and it's so overdue. You have no idea. And it's really important. I think a lot of people have been really mesmerized. You've shared a lot of information that none of us had, to be honest with you. I have been a pit boss and haven't understood that level of the dice. You know what I mean? The micrometer meter, you know what I mean? And the balancing thing, yes, but like understanding like loaded, no one's ever even walked me through that. And I worked at 13 casinos.
And that's what's important is, you
micrometer,
you put a floor on the floor, and you never tell them what to look for. That's the thing. And in this course here, we're going to go through A to Z on the red flags, how to mic the dice, how to balance dice, how to do the full inspection, right? How about a roulette wheel? Knowing the density of the number strip, density of the pockets, measuring the apron, or the density of the apron, the ball track, all that stuff. How to do an RPM test on a roulette wheel. All this stuff, we're never really exposed to, but in this year, we're exposed to everything from A to Z.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tremendous. I can't wait for the class myself. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Mark. We're gonna have a lot more of Mark. This has been very
one last
interesting.
question, just real quick.
Yes.
Good.
If a bad dealer pays extra, is there any reason a player can't collect?
According to statute, if a player takes more from a game than what is won, it is considered cheating. Part of statute. Now, the next thing is, we have to also look at intent. Do they know that they were overpaid, or do they not, right? But the way it's written in the statute, if a player takes more than what is won from a gambling game, it is considered a fraudulent act.
Wow, interesting.
So there was recently a big story at a downtown casino, who we won't name, where a supervisor approved a payoff on several big bets, and the player was paid, walked from the game, and surveillance called down and said, "Whoa, you overpaid." It was a lot of money, like 15,000 over on several bets.
Yeah.
And it was a blackjack, right? How did this? Anyways, so they had to rake this money back, and they hadn't left the casino yet. They were a known player. They were a contract player at the casino. They had a marker out for I don't know how much money. And so an hour later, the supervisor is having to go up to this guy and say, by the way, we overpaid you 15,000, whatever it was a lot of money. And he didn't want to give it back. He was like, well, you approved the payoff.
Sure.
Like, even the dealer sort of has, you made, because this was a newer dealer, break-in dealer, a lot of money, very nervous. And the supervisor literally approved this payoff. And, put them in a tough spot. You know what I'm saying? So the way the conversation was basically, listen, if you collect this money, if you take this money back from me, I'll never play here again. And it's a big player, fairly big player, not a huge whale, but close to it. But they're like, well, we have to take the money back. So he's like, no, I'm not giving you your money. He just said no. And so they called the gaming control board, and they came down and talked to the guy, and they got the guy to give it back. But it was interesting because the argument was, well, the casino supervisor on the floor approved the payout. Like literally walked up to the game and said, yes, that's correct, go ahead and pay.
Regardless of that, if a player does take more than what is won from the game, it still falls under that statute.
Still far. And so even they weren't sure. They called the gaming control board and they were like, yeah, we got to give it back. If you don't give it back, we got to call it in, you know, as theft.
For sure.
And so he, ultimately he gave it back, and that was the end of it.
But in that case, the relationship between that player and the casino is probably gone.
Yeah, gone.
Now, what could happen is the casino could say, just in the interest of customer relations, go ahead and keep the money to keep the customer at that point, right? Yep. But in this case here, now we get gaming involved and so forth. We've just totally tarnished that relationship with that guest. We're never getting them back.
No, 100%. They embarrassed them. I would say, but they pushed the subject. I would have thought it was a lot of money. 15,000 is what I heard. Maybe it was more. I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't there. But when I was a dealer, the Rio was famous. Marnell, for example, was famous for just giving money.
Yep.
So Larry Flint's brother, who came and played, and Larry would lose. Larry Flint of Hustler, right?
Yep.
And his brother would play, Tom, I believe his name is. I'm not sure 100%. But so they would play Baccarat, and Larry would lose a couple million, and his brother would lose like $1 million. Well, his brother's girlfriend was supposed to have been picked up, and they were late picking her up. And so they gave her like $150,000 necklace as a sorry.
Wow.
Well, they were like hours
Strong.
late, and everyone was bitching. I mean, they gave it was a ton. It was a lot of money. I don't know what it exactly. Lauren can probably remembers exactly what it was, but or some of the other real deal. It was a lot. But ended up in the paper, and we actually. So not just that, but there was another late limo or gift that was given out, like $40,000, also jewelry, and strong, right? And some dealers talked about it and released it to like the RJ, and RJ published a story about how Rio was bending over backwards, but we all got in trouble. We actually had pre-shifts the very next day to tell us, listen, shut the hell up.
Right.
Because they don't want to be in a position to give everybody, a necklace.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Just because they,
Yeah.
but knowing that, I'm so amazed that this casino, it wasn't Circa by any means. It was someone other, why they would have pulled the money back. You know what I mean? Like, just give it to the guy and call it
At
a
that
day.
point, especially a player of that caliber. You know
what I mean?
Oftentimes, yeah.
Yeah, I was just.
It happens all the time, though, where the player, it was our mistake. Okay, we're just going to do this in the interest of customer relations and call it a day. But other times, somehow just want to get that money back.
Yeah, some they're real adamant, or the shift boss, or whomever else is in control. All right, well, there you go. This is fabulous, fantastic podcast. I can't wait.
Had a great
to the next
time.
one.
Thank you, everybody. I had a great time.
Do we all love Mark? I mean, you got a lot of thumbs up. That's a record for thumbs up,
thank
buddy.
you, thank you.
They must love you. And what else we got? Any last minute? Any Q of A?
We're good.
We're good. We're going to be heading out. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next time. Don't forget, shopcasinoquest.com is our brand new store. We're still finishing up. We got a few more things to put up there tomorrow, but we got that table, the how-to video. We got Alex bent over putting that table together, so there's that. And thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week, Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
And